So hey guys, welcome back to the Anime What Ifs channel. This is a story about what if Naruto is abandoned during the Chunin exams. Part 1. If you guys enjoy this what if, and you want to see part 2, comment down below. And let me know before I start. Please do support for more awesome content. And leave a like and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And also share this video with your friends. And check out the description. And check out my playlist. So let's start the video. Chapter 1. Revelations. Naruto Uzumaki was hurt, both emotionally and physically. Pain like this wasn't anything new to him. He had experienced it all his life. This was, however, the first time he had felt so betrayed. He was currently laying on his stomach bleeding out in the forest of death with a wound going from his right shoulder midway down his torso. Both his teammates had abandoned him after they had run into Orochimaru of the. Things with his team had been strained ever since the mission to Wave. Sakura had spent every available moment trying to get Sasuke's attention. Sasuke himself had become even more isolated and cold after he gained his Sharingan. The month leading up to the exams should have been a warning that things had soured to this point. Even Kakashi-sensei had been ignoring both him and Sakura and instead had been training Sasuke with his newly awakened Sharingan. And no matter how much he complained, he had always pushed him aside, promising that once he had better control of his chakra he would help him train more. Damn it, my visions are going blurry, thought Naruto as his surroundings started to blur together, as he tried to crawl himself to the underside of a nearby tree so he wouldn't be completely defenseless. Naruto thought back to the encounter with Orochimaru, and how utterly outclassed he had been even when using the Nine-Tails chakra. His instincts were screaming at him to run away from the snake, but he had foolishly ignored them. He at the time still harbored hope he and his team could reconnect. Damn them, thought Naruto angrily. First Sasuke uses me for a substitution after the snake freak puts that weird seal on me, then Sakura leaves me after the bastard runs away. Naruto rolled into a small opening under a random tree and with the last of his strength used a branch to cover the entrance to hide as much as possible. Soon Naruto sees the world go black as he finally passes out from blood loss. Drip, drip, drip. Naruto could hear water slowly dripping as he sat himself up into what he could only describe as a sewer. Naruto looked around, his blue eyes sharp and cautious, something that most would say didn't belong on his face. He spotted a giant gate behind him with different pipes leading into it. Then he heard a low rumble that sounded like a chuckle. The water moved slightly as he saw a massive figure behind the gate. So my jailer finally comes to meet me. It only took you to be slowly dying in the middle of a forest. Naruto saw the 9 titanic tails swaying behind the beast and spoke in a soft whisper. The 9 tails, the giant fox, lowered itself to look at his container, his eyes bigger than Naruto's entire body. Naruto felt oddly calm as he stared at the mountain-sized fox as it stared at him. My, I didn't know you were so observant, little human. I expected you to be more moronic. The 9 tails let out another chuckle as he mocked the blonde. His breath disturbed the water slightly with every breath. Naruto had to bite back a retort. He wanted to scream at the dumb fox that he wasn't a moron, but his instincts were telling that would be a bad idea. And knowing that last time he ignored them, he ended up bleeding out in the middle of a deadly forest filled with not only wild beasts, but also enemy ninja. Naruto swallowed before responding. You're right, I haven't been the most studious ninja. Naruto remembered when he first started to tune the world out, the harsh words of the villagers that would haunt him during the nights as he slept. He also remembered when he started using a mask so obnoxiously happy to hide away his fears, his anger, his hate. He didn't know when the mask he wore became his actual face, but in the end, it had come to bite him in the ass. Naruto looked up and for a split second, he thought he could see sympathy in the eyes of the fox before a hard, unreadable look came to its eyes. I assume we're in the seal, so how long do I have? You said I was dying. The 9 tails looked at the blonde before he let out a long breath. You assume correctly, jailer of mine. We are indeed in my cage. The fox paused before continuing. Time moves slower in here when I want it to, so we have time before we need to be concerned about your injury. I see you've decided to drop that idiotic mask of yours. Naruto looked surprised that the fox knew that before nodding slowly. Yeah, I figured it was time to start being me again. I forgot myself trying to win the attention and approval of the villagers that I let my mask become my face. Good. The 9 tails boomed suddenly. I can't have my container looking like such a weak idiot. I may be sealed away, but you still represent me by proxy. The snake put a seal on you that has severely cut our connection. The 9 tails suddenly brought a tail forward and sent a wave of chakra to his container. That is as much as I can send until this new seal is removed. Go talk to the old Hokage and he should be able to remove it for you. Naruto looked up at the 9 tails in surprise. Why are you helping me? Questioned Naruto. Don't you go free if I die? When the fourth sealed me in you, he invoked the power of the god of death. I do not wish to test to see if I would reform if I were to perish with you. The Ninetales looked at his container again. You humans may call me a demon, but I can assure you I am not. I am not so cruel as to watch a child die without doing anything. Naruto said nothing as he looked away with a soft whisper. Thank you? Naruto looked back up at the fox before he spoke again. I promise I won't be weak anymore. Naruto then felt a small pull in his navel. You're waking up. Remember that you're not only representing yourself but you're also representing me. Before you go, use those shadow clones to train yourself. Everything they learn you learn too. The Ninetales said as he laid down. Now be gone, your dying has interrupted my nap. Naruto looked on as he felt himself leave. Thank you again, I know you didn't have to help me. Naruto whispered before he left the seal completely. Naruto felt himself come to, and he looked around. He was still under the tree and his wound was mostly healed. It was now an ugly scar that ran across his chest. His orange and blue jacket was torn to shreds, so Naruto took parts of it to make some makeshift bandages for himself. He still felt exhausted, so Naruto quickly got more branches from the outside and fortified his little cubby. The sun hung low, but it would be a couple of hours before night. Naruto took advantage of the little daylight he had left and managed to fill his canteen from a nearby river and was lucky enough to grab a fish to eat for the day. He wanted to make the fire now so as to not draw attention to himself at night, while he was still so weak from the encounter with the snake. Naruto spent the next 3 hours slowly cooking the fish so as to not draw any teams to himself with a large fire, and as soon as night fell he ate his fish and went back inside the tree to think of his next move. I need to find my team, he thought to himself sarcastically. The fastest way out of this failed experiment of a team is to make Chunin. I'll look for them tomorrow and hopefully they're still alive so we can advance. Naruto then made a clone of himself. Damn! I usually make about 10 shadow clones with the amount of chakra I just used. I really need to get that damn seal off. Time to see if the fox was right. Hey, go outside and look around before you disperse yourself. Naruto ordered his clone outside and waited 5 minutes before a wave of memories hit him. Naruto's eyes widened. Holy crap! The amount of training I can get done with this is insane. Naruto then used a spare branch to cover himself for the night as an extra precaution against being spotted. Sleep overtook him quickly as he was already drained emotionally and physically from the day's events. Thoughts of all the ways he could use his clones to train filled his mind as he dozed off for the night. Naruto woke up early the next morning. He looked around outside and saw the sun was barely up. He quickly took note that he felt much better than the previous day, but his scar still hurt. Naruto gathered his equipment before heading high up into the trees. Once Naruto made it to a high branch, he made 5 clones and had them spread out as he made his way slowly towards the tower in the middle of the forest where the teams who had both scrolls would be gathering. Naruto traveled for hours before the memories of his clones came back to him. Naruto saw Team 10 going through their morning routine before packing up and following the river. His other clones saw random teams from the Rain Village and Sound Village along with 2 others from the Leaf he didn't recognize. Naruto stopped and started to set up traps around the clearing he was in for both animals and other ninjas. He made 10 clones and had them set a perimeter around him to warn him if anyone came by. Most of the village didn't realize, but Naruto was an expert in stealth. He had been hiding from villagers and later on from other ninjas when he would perform his pranks for years. Hiding his presence had become second nature to him when he was out performing his pranks. I'm already tired and it's only been half a day, Naruto thought to himself. I really need to fix my chakra control. It costs way too much energy making those 10 clones. Naruto then remembered how one of his academy instructors had mentioned one of the basic ways to learn to better chakra control inside his body was to meditate. He figured the seal had messed up his chakra flow by taking away the constant connection it had with the Ninetales, so everything was out of whack. Naruto found a spot hidden away from view between some thick branches and got into position by crossing his legs and having his hands touching in his lap. Soon he lost himself inside his meditation, and he could feel his chakra flow around his body. He felt how turbulent it felt around his stomach where he knew his seal and the one Orochimaru placed on him where. The whiskered blonde spent the rest of the day until night fell soothing out his chakra. Naruto only interrupted his meditation twice, once to kill a tiger that had been caught in his trap and to hide when a team of ninja from the Sound Village was spotted by one of his clones. This should be good. I feel a lot better with my chakra flowing more smoothly. I should be good to go find my team tomorrow and make sure they haven't killed themselves out there, Naruto thought sourly to himself. It's almost over. The faster we get this done, the better chance I have of getting promoted. Naruto finished eating his tiger meat and sat up under a tree before sleeping for the rest of the night. Once he woke up, he noticed he felt many times better than he did yesterday morning. Good, I can finally get going, Naruto thought before he made 3 clones to scout ahead as he picked up some spare tiger meat for the road. Naruto spent most of the day looking for his team before one of his clones popped and sent him memories of the sound team that had attacked Kabuto at the beginning of the first part of the exam, fighting his comrades. They were in the middle of attacking Lee and Sakura. Naruto made his way towards them when he found the route his clone had taken. It had taken him longer than he would have liked as he had to avoid the many dangerous animals that were in his path. God damn it! It's like they deliberately went the most dangerous way possible. Naruto seethed internally before he made it to the area where he knew his team was. Naruto saw Team 10 battling the sound team protecting an injured Lee and Sakura. Naruto also saw the rest of Lee's team standing not too far away from the action when he felt the disgusting chakra. It almost felt like it was corrupted, but Naruto couldn't say by what. What power? Naruto heard Sasuke say. His appearance surprised him and all the others as he had a flame-like markings that wrapped halfway around his body. The remaining 2 sound ninjas took notice of Sasuke coming out from under the tree. Naruto could hear Ino and Sakura say Sasuke's name, and Sasuke turned to Sakura. Sakura were the ones who did this to you. His tone was cold with an edge to it as Sakura nodded, nearly in tears from seeing him. TCH, you guys are like damn roaches, you just keep popping up everywhere. It doesn't matter though, I'll blow you all away. The sound of a ninja with spiky hair screamed before lifting up his hand and shouting. Decapitating airwaves, Naruto watched as Sasuke dodged the blow that tore the tree he was under away and stood behind him. The sound ninja hadn't realized he missed as he started gloating. Ha! Just like I said, another weak roach. The sound of the ninja turned around quickly when he heard Sasuke speak. Such a weak attack wouldn't ever do something to a ninja of my level. Sasuke's voice could be heard clearly. The sound ninja, angered by the display, lifted both his hands. You're dead. Extreme decapitating airwaves. His attack was noticeably bigger, but Naruto saw Sasuke once again dodge and get behind the enemy ninja. This time though he grabbed both his hands and stepped on his back, locking him in place. Naruto narrowed his eyes. Naruto thought to himself, as he watched the events unfold. You seem pretty proud of these arms, Sasuke said as he gripped his arms tighter. Then with a vicious pull, he broke the sound of the ninja's arms. Sakura and Team 10 looked on in shock, not being able to believe how brutal Sasuke was being. Lee's team looked mostly impassive, though 10 and Lee had slightly disapproving looks to them. Naruto took this time as everyone was focused on Sasuke to move behind Lee's teammates. Sasuke let the sound ninja drop to the ground before he turned to the last of the sound team, who was battle ready. So you're the final one, huh? Don't worry, I can fix that, Sasuke said as he walked over to him. He took 4 steps before Sakura had hugged him from behind and started whispering in his ear. Naruto could barely hear what she said, so he pumped chakra into his ear to see if he could listen in. No, Sasuke, this isn't you, please, Sakura begged Sasuke, who Naruto saw slowly started to slump down as the markings slowly receded into the mark on his neck. Looks like I wasn't the only one the snake bastard left a mark on, Naruto thought to himself as he saw the sound ninja reach into his kunai pouch and took out an earth scroll. We can't fight any longer, Sasuke Uchiha. You are clearly stronger than us. I'll give you our scroll if you allow my teammates and I to leave. Naruto saw Sasuke nod before the sound ninja threw him the scroll and quickly and quietly picked his teammates up and left. With that, everyone in the clearing let out a sigh of relief as Team 10 went to Sasuke and Sakura to help them with their wounds. By this point, Sasuke had collapsed as the final marking receded into his seal. Man, that was such a drag. Choji pulled out a bag of chips before responding to Shikamaru. Yeah, those sound ninjas were tough. Ino meanwhile was busy helping Sakura even out her hair as it had been cut sometime since the last time Naruto saw her. Come on Sakura, I'll even this out quick. Sakura looked over at Ino and nodded in gratitude. Thanks, Ino pig. Ino smirked back before replying. Don't think just because I'm helping you means I'll let you have Sasuke. Tenten and Neji dropped down and Tenten picked Lee up. Naruto hurriedly talked to his teammates. Sorry guys, it seems my flames of youth were not enough. I'll make this up by running 30 laps around the village. Tenten looked at Lee with a sweat drop before smacking Lee. Don't be an idiot, Lee. We still have to pass the exam. Neji, who was standing slightly away from the groups, looked around before he spotted Team 7 sans Naruto. Give me your scroll, you're down a member and already failed the exam. Team 10 and Sakura tensed. Naruto quietly made a single clone before deciding to make himself known as he jumped down and landed between the combined Team 7 and 10, separating them from Neji. You're not getting our scroll. Naruto's appearance shocked the group. Team 10 was wondering where Naruto had been, and Lee's team was surprised they hadn't sensed him. Neji dropped into his stance until Naruto looked at him and spoke. I wouldn't do that if I were you. Niji glared at the blonde before speaking. And why wouldn't I want to? Fate has already declared me the winner. Niji smirked before he felt a kunai touch his throat. His smirk fell as he activated his and saw a shadow clone behind him. Everyone was still as the two genin glared at each other. The tense silence was broken by Tenten, who spoke to Niji. Let it go for now, Niji, we don't even need their scrolls. Niji nodded and Naruto dispelled his clone as Niji took off with an apologetic Lee and Tenten, who gave a small and quick wave to them. Naruto then turned around before looking at the stunned Team 10 and he asked them. What about you guys? Shikamaru was the first to answer. Troublesome, no, we're not gonna fight. We just came to help out some fellow leaf ninja. Choji just nodded along, agreeing with Shikamaru. Yeah, we also have an earth scroll. Ino snapped out of her stupor and noticed the makeshift bandages. Didn't you bring any healing supplies to Naruto? That looks like a serious injury. Naruto looked down at his chest where the remnants of his orange jacket lay. We gave all our healing supplies to Sakura when we entered the forest. Naruto's tone was cold and even, and it freaked Ino out, who had never seen the blonde act so serious. Well, why didn't you go to her when you got hurt, you dumbass? Ino's tone was sharp as she tore into Naruto. There was a small pause before Naruto answered. He wanted to scream right back at Ino, but he had dropped his mask. There was no reason to overreact. Naruto finally answered, we got separated. Sakura flinched at this, her head hanging low in shame. Ino looked over at Sakura and asked her for some bandages when she shook her head, saying she used them all on Sasuke's injuries. Ino looked upset before she reached into her pouch and brought out some of her supplies. You're lucky I brought extra supplies to Naruto. Ino's tone was annoyed as she walked over to Naruto. Now sit, I'll bandage you up. The others looked surprised before Ino turned to them and yelled. Don't just stand there, go set up a camp for the night, you idiots. Choji and Shikamaru grumbled to themselves about bossy blondes before heading off to make a fire. Naruto looked at Ino as she took off the shredded jacket and shirt and saw the scar that ran across his chest. Thank you, Ino. The blonde looked up and blue eyes met. Ino frowned before replying. Don't look too much into it. I'm just helping out a fellow team. Naruto said nothing as Ino finished wrapping his torso up. How did this ever happen? Ino questioned the injured blonde. Naruto frowned and had to hold back the anger he felt towards his team. He replied eventually as she moved away from him. We got ambushed, and I was caught off guard by how skilled the enemy was. Ino's frown deepened before she looked him over. You have to be more careful, Naruto. This isn't the academy anymore. Ino's reply sent a wave of anger through his body before he pushed it back down as Ino didn't know what really happened. Yeah, it won't happen again. That I promise. The two blondes made their way over to the rest of the group, with Sasuke being put under another tree and Sakura, Choji and Shikamaru sitting around the newly made fire. Naruto looked at Sakura, who looked away from his gaze. He turned to the other two and addressed them. Thank you for helping out my team, guys. Choji nodded. No problem, Naruto. We couldn't just sit there and do nothing while they were being attacked. TCH, yeah, it was troublesome, but if we hadn't helped, Ino would have yelled at us until we were deaf. Shikamaru laid down after he said this. Ino, who was offended, punched him before sitting next to Sakura. Naruto walked over to the fire and sat down as he pulled out the rest of his tiger meat to share with the others. Choji and Shikamaru took the offered meat and Ino and Sakura denied them. It was quiet as the sun set as Naruto used his arm as a pillow and laid down under one of the trees. They had all gone to different trees to sleep. Team 10 and Sakura were taking watch tonight, he offered, but was shot down, Ino telling him he should rest. Naruto meditated before he let sleep claim him. Only 2 days left, we need to move fast tomorrow. Naruto's thoughts drifted to his team. Just 2 more days and we can get out of this horrible place. Naruto's last thought of the night was of his promise to the Nine Tails and how he promised he would never be weak again. Chapter 2, Preliminaries begin. Naruto felt himself wake up and quickly made his way out from under the tree where he was resting. He spotted Ino awake and slowly made his way towards her. He also noticed Sakura waking up from her spot next to Sasuke, where she had most likely spent the night watching him when she wasn't on watch. Naruto made a clone to go out and find an animal so they could eat before they left, as he started up the fire that they had put out last night so as not to attract attention. Hey Naruto, you're up early. Are you sure you should be up so early? The sun just came out. Ino's voice snapped Naruto from his thoughts as he turned towards her. I want to get the day started as early as possible. The faster we can get the scrolls we need, the faster we can leave this forest. Ino looked surprised before letting out a small chuckle as she looked at his bandages and noticed they were still in pretty good condition. Yeah, I miss my bed. This place is crazy, even Sasuke was hurt. Naruto frowned at the mention of his teammate. He was once again interrupted from his thoughts when his clone came back with a rabbit. Ino looked at the clone and saw it had brought food, and her eyes widened a bit. I didn't know your clones were so useful. They're very useful, but they cost a lot of chakra. Naruto took a moment before setting the rabbit over the fire, as his clone had already skinned it. Ino, go wake up Choji and Shikamaru and I'll wake up my team. Naruto had to hold back the venom that wanted to leak into his tone. Ino nodded before walking over to where her teammates were resting. Naruto walked over to Sasuke's tree as he heard Sakura speak to him for the first time since she had abandoned him. She had circles in her eyes from lack of sleep. Naruto, I'm glad you're okay. Her voice was raspy. It was obvious she had not been resting. Stop pretending like you care about Sakura, there's no one here to fool. Sakura looked hurt by his words, but before she could respond, Sasuke groaned and sat up. He looked around groggily and his eyes grew wide when he noticed Naruto. So you managed to survive, huh, dead last? Sasuke's remark made Naruto's eyes blaze with anger as he slowly calmed himself down. Naruto had to remind himself he still needed them to pass this part of the exam. Naruto glared at them before responding, get up, Ino is waking up Team 10 and as soon as we eat breakfast we leave. Naruto's icy tone took Sasuke by surprise as he responded with an icy tone of his own. And why should I listen to you? Because I'm not a coward who runs away from a fight. Naruto's reply sent Sasuke into a rage as he stood up with his Sharingan active as he glared back at the blonde. Sakura quickly stepped between them as she spoke to both of them. Guys, please. She pleaded to her two male teammates. Let's just be glad we all managed to survive. Sasuke said nothing as he clutched his neck before he huffed and pushed past Sakura and shoulder bumped past Naruto, who glared at him. Sakura turned to Naruto. I'm so sorry I left you, Naruto, but after Sasuke collapsed Shut up, Sakura, it doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't change the fact that you left me for dead out there after I came back and risked my life for you too. Naruto didn't wait for a reply as he left to go to the others. It was an awkward breakfast with all of Team 7 being very quiet. Eventually the teams decided to head towards the tower after deciding to team up. The group had been traveling for a couple of hours in silence before Shikamaru had asked Naruto why he wasn't with the rest of his team when the sound team attacked, along with asking when he had shown up. Sakura looked over to them as she, Ino and Sasuke were leading the group. Before she or Sasuke could talk, Naruto beat them to it. We got separated when an enemy team ambushed us. Sakura looked surprised and Sasuke looked impassive. Ino took notice of Sakura's expression but said nothing. I showed up when Sasuke woke up with those weird markings. I was going to show myself then but decided to see how things played out when Sasuke beat the sound team. Naruto's answer surprised Shikamaru, who nodded with a calculating look. At this point Choji decided to also speak up. You looked real cool against the Hyuga, Naruto. I didn't even see the clone come up behind him. Choji's praise caused Sasuke to look over at Naruto with a hard expression before he turned back around. Yeah, it was pretty cool, but nothing is ever gonna be as cool as Sasuke. Ino's reply was expected, but it still annoyed the blonde to be compared to Sasuke. The two teams made a quick stop to eat lunch before continuing. They had traveled for another 4 hours before they stopped as they heard two people arguing. It was one of the other sand teams. They were all wearing tan shirts and black pants. The two arguing had short brown hair and eyes. Their female teammate had long black hair as she tried to get them to calm down. The group had already made a plan to capture any enemy teams they ran across. Sasuke made himself known to the sand ninja as Shikamaru sneaked behind them and used his shadow possession to immobilize the enemy. They started screaming curses and threats but stopped when Naruto made 2 shadow clones and knocked them out. The group tied them up as they searched the sand ninjas and managed to acquire a heaven scroll. They decided that Sasuke, being the best fighter, should keep the scroll. Naruto had to hold a remark as he figured causing an argument would slow them down more than necessary. The two teams set up camp for the night as Choji and Shikamaru decided to go to the nearby river to fill up the canteens and catch some fish. Sakura set up the fire as Sasuke went off to a nearby tree to rest. This left Ino and Naruto alone, and she took advantage of the time to replace his bandages. So what actually happened between you and the rest of your team? You guys have been glaring at each other all day. Ino's question caught Naruto off guard. He must have shown it as Ino spoke again. Hey, what's with the face? My clan specializes in information gathering. It was pretty easy for me to see you guys weren't telling the whole truth. Naruto thought pretty hard before answering. I'll tell you after we reach the tower. Naruto didn't want to tell Ino, who would then confront his team. That would cause them to go slower. Plus he really needed to talk to the Hokage about Orochimaru and the seal he had put on him and Sasuke. Ino glared at her fellow blonde, clearly not liking the answer, as she finished applying new bandages. Fine. I expect you to tell me as soon as we get inside the tower then. Her tone left no room for argument, and Naruto really didn't feel like starting a fight with the platinum blonde, so he nodded. Soon enough, everyone minus Sasuke gathered around the fire, and soon the dinner was eaten and everyone drew lots to see who would take watch. Naruto had gotten the second to last watch, with Choji taking the last spot. Shikamaru would start off, with Ino going next, then Sasuke followed by Sakura. Before they each went to their own sleeping areas, Naruto heard a noise as he prepared to jump into action. Kabuto pushed his way past the bushes as he made himself known to the others. This caused everyone to jump up and get into a combat stance until they saw it was another leaf ninja and lowered their weapons slightly. "Oh! Hey Kabuto, what are you doing here?" Sakura was the first to break the silence. "My team and I decided to split up to cover more ground. I saw you guys were all gathered and I figured I could come help out some fellow leaf ninja." His response put everyone at ease except for the two male members of Team 7, though for completely different reasons. Naruto because his instincts told him not to trust him, and Sasuke because he wanted to fight Kabuto for his scroll. It took Sakura, Choji, Shikamaru, and Kabuto himself to convince Sasuke to let Kabuto join them to hunt down other teams. He had convinced the group that his team already had both scrolls and that they were going to meet up with him at the tower tomorrow. Soon the night passed, and when it was Naruto's turn to keep watch, he went to a well-hidden branch, made 4 clones to patrol for him, and meditated until it was finally Choji's turn. The group woke up just before dawn as they made their way towards the tower when Naruto felt something was off. He noticed his chakra had shifted slightly, and quickly cleared the disturbance, and saw he was put into a coma. Naruto stopped and warned the others. "Guys, stop, we were put under." Sasuke was quick to reply, "And how would you know who is the loser?" His voice carried a mocking undertone. Kabuto put his hands together and shouted release and confirmed that they were in A. Sasuke glared at Naruto before releasing himself as the others followed suit. The group was on guard as a voice spoke out and 3 figures rose from the ground. "So you noticed the huh? Well, it doesn't matter, we will be taking your scrolls from you now," the middle ninja said. Naruto noticed that all the genins were wearing respirators and were from the Rain Village. They all had on a tan jumpsuit and masks around their eyes, with the one on the left covering one eye and the one on the right covering both eyes. The middle one had 2 eye holes and was glaring at the group. Sasuke stepped up to the Rain ninjas. "Humph, you weaklings are the ones who are about to lose their scroll." Sasuke then rushed towards them and punched the one in the middle and was shocked to see his fist phase through him before receiving a counter-punch from the one-eyed Rain ninja. Sasuke rolled with the punch and backed up where everyone got into their fighting stances. The Rain ninjas seemed to multiply as more and more of them rose from the ground around them. "Oh man, there's a lot of them." Choji's voice cut through the air as random clones rushed the group, who started to fight back only for their attacks to go through them, just like Sasuke's attack. Random clones would counterattack against the group, making everyone even more confused when their attacks would fail. Naruto suddenly moved his head to the left as he felt the wind from the Rain ninja's punch. Acting on instinct, he grabbed the outstretched limb, before turning around and tossing him over his shoulder onto the ground before delivering a devastating haymaker to his face, breaking his respirator and knocking the Rain ninja out. "The real ones are hiding with the clones," Naruto warned his companions as he saw Sasuke activate his Sharingan with a look of anger and kick the one who had his eyes covered in the stomach, and as he doubled over, Sasuke took advantage by uppercutting him and knocking him out. The last Rain ninja tried to run away but was caught by Shikamaru's shadow possession. The Rain ninja looked around in panic. Why? He couldn't finish as he was knocked out by Kabuto, who told the others to tie up the Rain ninjas as Ino and Sakura searched for them. The girls found they had a heaven scroll. Upon seeing this, the group sighed in relief at the sight of it. Ino let out a small cheer with Sakura before Naruto looked at everyone. "Let's get to the tower as soon as possible. I want to get out of this forest." Naruto snapped everyone out of their mini celebrations, and soon the group was moving, and after half an hour they came to the tower. Kabuto was called over by the rest of his team as he said a quick bye and good luck. After that, Team 10 also said their goodbyes and left to enter through another door, but not before Ino whispered to the blonde that she still wanted an explanation from him. It was just Team 7 for the first time since the encounter with Orochimaru. Things were tense, and Sakura read the message on the door as a way to ease the tensions. "For those who have earth, they must seek heaven. For those who have heaven, they must obtain earth." I wonder what that means. Naruto and Sasuke just stayed quiet as they watched Sakura ponder the riddle. Sasuke became impatient as he took out the scrolls and opened them and threw them on the ground when they started to smoke, and soon Naruto heard a very familiar voice and he let out a small smile. "You guys just barely met the deadline, but I'm glad you made it." The smoke cleared completely and allowed them to see their scarred academy teacher. Iruka had a big smile on his face before he noticed Naruto's bandaged chest and frowned but said nothing. If you guys haven't figured it out yet, the riddle on the door represents how to become a well-rounded ninja. It means if you lack heaven, which represents intelligence, that you should study to learn all you can. The other is fairly obvious, that those who lack earth, which represents bodily strength, should train to acquire what they lack. Sakura nodded, paying close attention to her old sensei, while Sasuke ignored him completely as Naruto nodded along. The next stage begins in about 2 hours, so take your time to rest before you're summoned. Good luck, guys, I'm proud of you. Iruka suddenly went up in smoke and disappeared. Naruto frowned. I couldn't ask him about going to Old Man Hokage. Naruto went through the door and found 3 beds and 2 doors. One of them was open, leading to a bathroom, and the other was closed. He assumed was the entryway to where they needed to go. Naruto saw Sasuke go into the bathroom and close the door as he and Sakura were left by themselves. Naruto moved to one of the beds and laid down when Sakura interrupted him. Look, Naruto, I'm sorry about what happened in the forest. Sakura was still standing in the middle of the room. Naruto took a second to compose himself before he answered. It doesn't matter anymore, Sakura. What's done is done. Sakura let out a small smile. I'm glad you could forgive us at one. Naruto cut her off. I don't forgive you, Sakura, not you or Sasuke. Sakura froze before her face grew red with rage. What is your problem? I made a mistake and I've tried to apologize for it, and every time I do you just blow me off. We're supposed to be a team, you idiot. Sakura screamed at the blonde and was walking over to him to hit him when she froze from the killing intent that Naruto was releasing. How dare she? How dare she? Naruto seethed as he continued to glare at the pinkette. He slowly got up from the bed and walked over to her, and Sakura backed up until she fell on one of the beds. My problem is that one of my teammates is a deranged emo who used his already incapacitated teammate for a substitution, and the other one is a useless fangirl that would rather run off with her precious crush than go help her bleeding, badly injured teammate. My problem with Sakura is that my teammates abandoned me in the middle of a forest filled with dangerous man-eating animals and enemy ninjas. Naruto's voice never rose, but Sakura could feel the pure loathing in them. So no, Sakura, I don't forgive you or Sasuke, because as far as I'm concerned, you, Sasuke, and this team can go to hell. Naruto finished his tirade and noticed Sakura had started crying halfway through. He went back to his bed and laid down, waiting for Sasuke to exit the bathroom. Sasuke exited after another 10 minutes and ignored both his teammates, as he laid in his own bed and promptly fell asleep. Sakura had rushed into the bathroom after Sasuke had gone in and slammed the door shut. Great thought, and already annoyed Naruto. She's probably going to be there for the rest of the time we have left. Deciding that going to the bathroom to clean up was not worth the hassle, Naruto began to meditate again to pass the time and soothe his chakra flow. It was another hour before Sakura came out with puffy eyes and simply went to the final bed to rest for the remaining time. Naruto took this chance to go into the bathroom. He noticed there were spare medical supplies and used them to bandage up his torso. He also noticed they had spare shirts and pants. Good, I've gotten tired of running around with my chest always exposed. Naruto threw the remaining pieces of his shirt away and put on a short-sleeved black shirt. The bandages were visibly sticking out, but he didn't care anymore about his appearance. Naruto made it out of the bathroom just as the door opened and an ANBU told them to follow her, telling them the next part of the exam was starting. They made it to a big open room with stairs that lead up to catwalks where he could see all of the senses. Naruto took count of all the teams that made it. All of our classmates made it, so did Lee's and Kabuto's team, along with the sand team with the crazy redhead and the sound team. Naruto stopped his observation when the ANBU told all the genin to line up so the Hokage could address them. Naruto saw Kakashi grab Sasuke and whisper into his ear. Whatever was said, the younger man didn't like it as he grabbed his neck and glared at Kakashi. The blonde turned his attention from them to the Hokage, who was standing in front of a statue of arms doing a hand seal. Naruto noticed the proctors from the first 2 parts of the exams, as well as a who was dressed in the standard Leaf Village uniform. He had brown bangs that stuck out of his bandana, which had the Leaf Village symbol. The man kept coughing every couple of minutes, and Naruto wondered if he was going to be okay. He saw the Hokage step up before announcing the true purpose of these exams, which was to simulate war between the villages. He explained how they helped build relationships along with showing potential clients with up-and-coming talent. Unfortunately, the third began to say, "It seems too many of you have passed. We will need to conduct a preliminary round to reduce your numbers before the finals." This had an instant effect and had the genin yelling in protest. Enough, people all over the world will be coming, and there are simply far too many of you. At this point, the sickly man who was coughing interrupted the Hokage. Please allow me to explain from this point on, Lord Hokage. The third simply nodded as he allowed the man to step forward. My name is Gecko Hate, and I will be the proctor for this part of the exam. From this point on, we shall have a series of random one-on-one fights to cut you in half. The proctor stopped midway through the speech to cough. Over to my right there is a screen and your names will appear randomly on the screen. Those chosen will then fight. Before we begin, would anyone like to back out? This is your last chance to do so. Team 10 looked unsure as they had just gotten here and Ino sent a worried glance towards Team 7. The only person to back out was Kabuto, who said he was out of chakra after spending 5 days fighting in the forest. Sorry, I just can't keep going. The proctor just nodded and an ANBU led Kabuto out of the room. Does anyone else wish to leave? The proctor waited before he continued. Very well, all of you go upstairs to your senseis and come back down when your name appears on the screen. Team 7 ended up standing in between teams 8 and 9. Ha! Can you believe all us rookies made it this far? Kiba's boisterous gloat was largely ignored as the first 2 names appeared on the screen. Sasuke Uchiha v.S. Yoroi Akida. Sasuke went down the steps and smirked at his opponent who was standing across from him. Naruto heard Sasuke mock his opponent, a man with a face mask and bandana. He was wearing a blue and white shirt, blue pants, and his eyes were covered by dark glasses. This will be over fast. Sasuke's opponent doesn't respond and he simply drops to his fighting stance. Do you think Sasuke is healed enough to fight him? Naruto turns to Ino. His response of I don't really care never came out as he looked back at the ninja down below. I'm sure he'll be fine. Naruto's response caught Kakashi's attention as he was expecting a more Naruto-like response. Ino just nodded as everyone turned to the proctor who started speaking. If both parties are ready. The proctor paused to make sure both genins were prepared. Begin. Chapter 3 The Fights. Sasuke dashed towards his enemy as soon as the proctor said to begin. He tried to hit him several times with punches and kicks, but Yoroi, who was Kabuto's teammate, dodged them before grabbing one of Sasuke's kicks and threw him across the room. Sasuke flipped in the air before landing on his feet, an angry scowl marrying his face. So this is all the mighty Uchiha clan has to offer, huh? This is disappointing. Don't worry, I won't make this last too long. I'll finish this with my next attack. Naruto could see that the remarks angered Sasuke even more. The Uchiha started going through some hand seals but stopped halfway as he clutched his neck. It looks like that mark is still hurting him. Ino's concerned voice was heard over the gasp Sakura was releasing. Naruto didn't say anything as he stared down at the fight going on below. Sasuke once again ran through hand seals as Yoroi rushed him. Sasuke took a deep breath before shouting. Fire style, fireball jutsu. Yoroi dodged to the left. He didn't dodge fast enough to completely avoid it. A part of his shirt was covered by fire. Sasuke, with unexpected speed, ran at him and elbowed the older genin in the face. Yoroi was pushed back by the blow and Sasuke tried to follow up with a kick, but Yoroi grabbed Sasuke's leg mid-swing and threw him on the ground. Sasuke tried to get up but was quickly straddled by the older genin. It's over. Yoroi exclaimed as grabbed Sasuke by the face, his hand glowing because of him. Sasuke struggled under the bigger man but managed to uppercut him. Using the opening he had butted the older genin and freed himself from his grasp. Naruto noticed that his teammate looked a lot more worn out than he should have. Kabuto's teammate looked slightly rejuvenated. Sasuke glared at the man and the masked genin simply chuckled. I see you noticed, my jutsu allows me to drain the chakra of my enemies and add it to my own. Naruto heard several gasps from the other rookies around him and saw that Sasuke glared at the man before grabbing his neck in pain. He looked over at Kakashi, and saw he was watching the match intently. Naruto saw Sasuke activate his Sharingan before he moved so quickly that Naruto almost didn't notice him. So you copied Lee's technique. This time Naruto heard Lee and his sensei guy gasp in shock as they looked on. Sasuke had gotten below Yoroi before kicking him up in the air. As Yoroi was hanging in the air, Sasuke blurred behind him. Sasuke grimaced in pain as his mark flared before receding back to the seal. He kicked Yoroi's side to maneuver himself above him. Sasuke launched a punch to his opponent's face before spinning and hitting him with an elbow that made the older ninja hit the ground just as Sasuke landed an axe kick to his stomach that cracked the floor under them. He heard his teammate shout out the name of his new move. Lion's Barrage! Sasuke stood up and stepped away as the proctor walked over and checked on the down ninja. Yoroi Akado is unable to continue. The winner is Sasuke Uchiha. The other rookies, mostly Sakura and Ino, let out cheers. Naruto just let a small frown come to face. Kakashi made his way over to Sasuke before he took him away. Ino noticed that Naruto was frowning and called him out on it. Hey, aren't you happy your teammate won? Her question brought the attention of Shino and Hinata. To be honest, I really didn't care who won the match. His answer made Hinata give him a concerned look as Shino looked undisturbed. Ino, who traveled with Team 7 for days, knew how high the tension was there. Sakura, who was standing nearby, just had an angry face on. The conversation was cut short as the proctor called the next two participants. Would Shino Abirame and Zaku Abumi please come down? The two genins made their way down. Zaku had his arms in a sling thanks to the injuries from Sasuke. The two stared each other down before Proctor spoke up again. If both fighters are ready, begin. The proctor jumped back to give the genin more space. You should give up, you have no chance of winning. Why? Because you are already injured and I am not. Shino's calm and collected tone seemed to tick off the sound of the ninja. That's the difference between us. I'm a lot stronger than any of you weak leaf ninja. Zaku raised his left arm and started firing a burst of wind at Shino, who simply dodged and let his insects swarm around him. You've made a foolish mistake. Shino started sending wave after wave of his bugs at Zaku, who tried to fend them off with his one good arm. But no matter how much he struggled, he couldn't get rid of all of them. You should forfeit. Why? Because you are outmatched. Zaku grit his teeth as he brought out his other arm from its sling. I always have a trump card. Zaku screamed at Shino as he raised both his arms and pointed them at him. Extreme decapitating airwaves. There was a moment of silence before Zaku's arms exploded at the elbows as he screamed in pain and fell to the ground. There were insects in his arm tubes that had plugged up the escape. All around there was a stunned silence. Naruto looked around and saw that Ino looked pale and that every one of the rookies sans himself and Shikamaru looked a little green. I always thought he was creepy in the academy, but that was a whole new level of disturbing. Ino let out a small shudder and Sakura nodded along. Hey, Shino is always quiet, but he's dangerous. He's probably the opponent I would like to fight least out of all us rookies. Kiba's comment was met with silence and a quiet troublesome from Shikamaru. That's a scary kid you got there, Kurenai. Asuma said to the only female sensei of the rookies who looked at her fellow. He has the best chance out of everyone here to make. Before any of the senseis could repute her comment, the proctor had called the match. Zaku Abumi is no longer able to battle. The winner is Shino Abirame. Shino made his way upstairs as his teammates congratulated him, Kiba with a pat on the back and Hinata with a small smile. Kakashi walked back up the stairs and Sakura asked him if Sasuke was okay. He'll be fine, Sakura, there's nothing to worry about. Sakura looks relieved as she watches her sensei take his spot with the other. The attention of everyone was once again brought to the screen as it cycled through names as it landed on Kankuro and Misumi Tsurugi, who was Kabuto's third teammate. He, like his other teammate, wore a bandana and cloth that covered his mouth, but unlike his teammate, he wore glasses that weren't blacked out. Would both contestants please make their way down? The two genins made their way without saying a word and were soon squared up facing each other. If you're both ready? Begin. Misumi rushed Kankuro, who did nothing but stand there, and soon Misumi wrapped around Kankuro's body with his limbs bending at unnatural angles. Fool, you should have never allowed me to get so close. My jutsu allows me to dislocate my joints and move my arms and legs so I can perfectly trap my foes. Give up or I'll snap your neck. His tone was sharp and confident. I refuse. Kankuro was calm even when in such a position. Naruto narrowed his eyes and noticed that his chest wasn't moving at all. He's not breathing. Naruto paid extra attention to the fight. Then Misumi followed through with his threat as he twisted Kankuro's neck. You should have listened. He dropped Kankuro's dead body on the ground and addressed the proctor as gasps could be heard from those around the room. Call the match. He shouted in surprise when he was suddenly wrapped up by Kankuro's body just like he had held him mere moments ago. He turned to look at him to see his face peeling away to show a wooden puppet underneath. What? How? From the beginning you never stood a chance. Kankuro's voice came from the bundled wrap on the ground that his puppet was carrying. Misumi looked stunned before looking at the proctor. I give. Before he could finish, Naruto saw Kankuro clench his hands and soon the sound of bones breaking filled the room as his opponent dropped to the ground unable to support himself. Hey, now it's over. The proctor quickly called the match for Kankuro as medics came in and took Misumi away. Naruto looked and saw that Ino had a sickly face. I can't believe he would do that if he was in the middle of giving up. Anything is legal as long as there is no outside help. The only rule is you fight until your opponent gives up, is unconscious or dead. Naruto's hard tone took many of those around him by surprise, especially his team sensei who looked at Naruto with his one uncovered eye. The screen soon ran through more names until it stopped on two very familiar names, Sakura Haruno versus Ino Yamanaka. The proctor called both of them down. Good luck, Ino. Naruto's remark caused everyone to look at him in shock, as it wasn't a secret that the blonde had a huge crush on the pinkette. Sakura had a look of betrayal but was soon covered by anger as she made her way down. Thanks, Naruto, but I don't need luck against my forehead. Ino's voice was full of confidence. Naruto simply shrugged and nodded as Ino was making her way down. Kakashi spoke to his most boisterous student. That wasn't very nice, Naruto. Just because you have a new girlfriend doesn't mean you should cheer against your teammate. Kakashi had purposely phrased his comment as to get a reaction out of his student. He was expecting him to splutter and blush as he denied his claims. What he got threw him for a loop and had him wondering what was wrong with his student. It also got the attention of Ino's team along with Hinata and her sensei. Ino's not my girlfriend, Kakashi. I was just being civil with her for helping me in the forest. Naruto's calm response made everyone question if it was actually him and not someone else, as Kakashi noticed the lack of sensei to his name. Before he could question it further, he heard the proctor ask if both fighters were ready. Begin! The proctor jumped back from the two girls, who simply stared at each other. Before removing their forehead protectors from their individual places on their body and tied them around their foreheads, the two glared at each other before running at each other, meeting in the middle of the room, engaging in a taijutsu match. The two began to exchange punches and kicks, but neither was landing a blow on the other. Sakura jumped back and created two clones and rushed into who merely scuffed and threw 3 kunai, one to each Sakura, and saw the middle one dodged and the other two simply disappeared when the kunai went through them. You're gonna have to try harder than that, forehead. Ino mocked her rival. Sakura said nothing and began an exchange again until Ino overextended a punch and Sakura was able to land a right-handed punch to her face. The two separated after Sakura landed her punch and Ino smirked. I'm glad you're taking this seriously. Sakura frowns and tries a new tactic, seeing as this was getting nowhere. I always take things seriously, unlike you who spend too much time caring about how she looks. Naruto, who was listening to them, let out a small huff. Hello, Kettle, have you met Pot? Naruto's thoughts were interrupted by Ino cutting pieces of her hair and throwing it at Sakura. Fine then. Let me show you how serious I can get. Ino's voice was full of anger as she brought her hands up into her clan's special jutsu. Ninja Arts, Mind-Body Switch Jutsu. Sakura, who knew what the jutsu did, jumped out of the way as Ino's body slumped to the ground. Ha! I won, Ino Pig. Sakura's celebration was cut short as she felt her get restrained and she looked down to see Ino's hair bind her. What is this? It's my chakra hair trap jutsu. I knew you would dodge my first, so I faked it. Now you can't dodge. Ninja Arts, Mind-Body Switch Jutsu. Ino fired her technique and once again fell limp as Sakura stood up with Ino's hair falling to the ground. Sakura slowly raised her hand and spoke to the proctor. I give you. Before she could finish speaking, she bit her lip hard enough to draw blood. Ino jumped up from unconsciousness as she looked around confused. Both kunoichi looked to be breathing heavily. I don't know how you managed to escape, but it doesn't matter if you're going down. Ino's declaration would have been more believable if she didn't look like a gust of wind would knock her down. Bring it, Ino. Sakura and Ino then rushed at each other before simultaneously landing punches on each other as they knocked themselves out. Naruto turned when he heard Tenten laugh and spotted Kurenai giving both Asuma and Kakashi disapproving looks. The proctor proclaimed the match a draw and soon Ino and Sakura were brought up when the medical team woke them up. Both Ino and Sakura looked happy and determined even though they lost and neither would advance. You got lucky that you faced each other. Ino and Sakura looked at Naruto with curious expressions. What's that supposed to mean? Ino's tone was hard. It means if you had faced any of the Sound Ninja or the red-headed Sand Ninja you would have died. Naruto's statement sent chills through their spines as they looked at the redhead who was releasing copious amounts of killing intent. Go Tenten, show them your flames of youth. Naruto's attention was brought to Lee and looked towards the screen to see Temari versus Tenten. Both kunoichis were already down the steps. The proctor started the match and jumped away. I'm glad I get to go after the disappointment that was the last match. I can show everyone not all kunoichi are useless fangirls. Tenten's statement was met with shouts of anger from Ino and Sakura who were ignored. Humph, well, see about that. Temari's statement caused Tenten to grow angry as she started pulling out scrolls from her ninja pouch, unsealing a ridiculous amount of weapons that flew at the sand kunoichi. Temari grabbed the fan of her back and opened it slightly to show a single crescent moon, and swung her fan, making a gust of wind that completely stopped the barrage of weapons. If this is all, I'm going to be very disappointed. Tenten, with a look of determination, unsealed a bow staff and ran at the blonde only to be blasted back when she was hit with another blast of wind. Come on, Tenten, you can do it. Lee's encouragement was heard by everyone. She got a bad matchup. If she has nothing else, she won't be able to win, thought Naruto. Tenten pulled out 2 scrolls from her kunai holsters on her leg and jumped into the air as she rained down even more weapons. Temari smirked before unleashing a tornado of wind that picked Tenten up and slammed her onto her folded fan she was holding out. There was a moment as Tenten lay there when the proctor called the match. Lee quickly went to go pick up his teammate, who was then taken away by the medics. That was most unkind. Lee's voice was hard as he spoke to the sand kunoichi. Whatever, kid, she's lucky I went easy on her. Lee glared at the sand team as he made his way up. Per Tenten, she had a horrible matchup, said Guy. She wasn't fated to win today. Guy gave Niji a disappointed look before going to check on his student. Woohoo! We won the Akamaru lottery. Naruto looked towards the screen to see his name had finally come up along with that of Kiba's. Would Naruto Uzumaki and Kiba Inuzuka please come down? Kiba jumped down and yelled up at Naruto. Hurry up dead last, and don't worry, I'll make this quick. This is it, this is where I start. No more holding back. Naruto made his way down, but not before he got good luck from both Ino and surprisingly Hinata. Naruto stood across from Kiba when he heard Kurenai speak to Kakashi. Sorry Kakashi, but Naruto doesn't stand a chance. I wouldn't say that, Naruto may surprise you. His attention was brought back to the proctor when he announced if both fighters were ready. Kiba nodded with a smirk and Naruto just gave a single nod. Begin! The proctor jumped back to give the combatants more room. Heh, stay back buddy, I won't need you for this. Get ready Naruto, cause I'll end this in one hit. Kiba ran at Naruto with surprising speed and tried to elbow him in the gut. Naruto, seeing this, allowed his instincts to guide him as he spun out of the way and decided to elbow him in the back of the head. Kiba crashed into the ground and those who knew Naruto were shocked into silence at this display. Wow! When did Naruto get so good? Said Ino, troublesome blondes. Shikamaru was instantly rewarded with a slap to the back of the head. As Sakura looked on with slight concern, Naruto jumped back to avoid a sweeping leg kick from Kiba as he stood back up and wiped the blood from his nose. You got lucky Naruto! Naruto stared down Kiba as he shouted at him. Kiba decided to throw some kunai at Naruto, and as he dodged he ran up to him and tried to punch him. Naruto grabbed his punch and threw him away from himself. Fine, I'll stop messing around, let's go Akamaru. Kiba reached into his pouch and threw several pellets at Naruto, and soon he was surrounded by the smoke. Naruto closed his eyes and focused on his senses and jumped backward as he felt a small object bite onto his shirt and tore it away. Great, I just got that shirt. Naruto quickly refocused as he felt two presences coming at him from either side. He reached out and grabbed Akamaru from the air as he tried to bite his arm and quickly kicked Kiba out of the smoke. Kiba slid to a stop and saw two Narutos, one holding Akamaru and the other standing off to its left. Give up Kiba. Naruto's tone was cold, and Kiba felt himself shiver involuntarily from the slight killing intent he was giving off. There's no way I'm giving up. Akamaru, catch! Kiba threw a pill at Akamaru that he had gotten out when he had seen Akamaru get taken. Naruto grabbed the pill from midair and crushed the pill in his hands. If you want to continue, fine, but it's going to be just you and me. Naruto signaled to his clone, who quickly jumped up to the statue and held Akamaru there. You asked for it, Naruto. Ninja arts, beast mimicry, all fours jutsu. Kiba shot off towards Naruto faster than ever before and Naruto rolled to the left, and as he was getting up he heard Kiba shouting. Ninja art, Fang over Fang. Naruto jumped straight up to dodge Kiba, who was spinning so fast he had become a tornado. Unfortunately, he wasn't fast enough and his bandages got torn off, allowing everyone to stare at his barely healed scar that ran across his chest. At the sight of it, several people reacted. Hinata and Sakura, who had never seen the scar, started tearing up. The third and Kakashi narrowed their eyes while everyone else wondered how he was able to move so well with such a wound. Naruto, once he landed, had to quickly dodge again as he just escaped another hit from Kiba. Damn it, I need more speed, thought Naruto, who started channeling chakra all over his body to give himself a boost. He made two clones to give himself a better chance to counterattack. This had caused his seal to become visible and many people took notice, specifically the Sand team, Niji, and the third. The third saw that Naruto had a 5-element seal placed over his normal 8-trigram seal and was instantly amazed Naruto was even fighting at all, as the seal messed with not only his chakra control but it was also meant to cut the flow of chakra. As Kiba came out of his spin he was instantly put on the defensive as two Naruto started to attack him. Kiba was able to pop one clone but the other had managed to send him flying with a kick, but before he was able to regain his balance the real Naruto appeared beside him and delivered a devastating punch to his face. Kiba bounced off the floor twice as the tile under him cracked on impact. The only sound that could be heard was Akamaru whimpering and the proctor called the match winner, Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto looked up at the catwalk where the rest of the rookies were staring at him shocked. The third made a quick signal to the ANBU informing them he would be leaving for a short, while then signaled the medics to take Naruto to a private room. Soon the medics took both Kiba and Naruto away as people assumed it was to deal with the giant scar on his chest. As he left he could hear the others talking about him. Wow, I didn't know Naruto had gotten so strong. Ino's voice held amazement as all the other rookies nodded along in mute silence. But did you see that seal he had on his stomach? Her question made the senseis look at each other. Do you know what Sakura is? Sakura looked puzzled. No, but when we were attacked by Oro, Sakura was stopped by Kakashi, who had nudged her side, who nodded slightly. This act didn't go unnoticed by Shikamaru, Niji, Shino, and Ino. By the enemy sound team, one of them did hit him in the stomach with a weirdo before making him pass out. The others didn't say anything as the next contestants were soon called out. Would Shikamaru, Nara, and Kintsuchi please make their way down? Naruto could no longer hear what was said as he was taken into a private room, and soon the third came through the door. Hello, Naruto. How are you? The third voice was calm and gentle like always. Naruto let out a small smile, one that the third had not seen since the blonde had been a small child. Hey, old man. Honestly, I could be better. Naruto took a second before looking the old Hokage in the eyes, and the third was reminded of another blonde man for just a second. I'm assuming you already know that Orochimaru attacked Team 7. Yes, we got the information. We also know he placed a curse seal on young Sasuke. The third paused for a moment before continuing. I was not aware he had placed a seal on you as well. The third let out a frown at this. Why didn't you inform Iruka or Kakashi about it? Iruka-sensei left too quickly for me to tell him, and I didn't see Kakashi until we were all in the big room. Naruto's words caused the aged Hokage to frown before nodding. Well, there is nothing that we can do about that now, but I can remove the seal from you right now. It was originally I who taught this to my students. I'm amazed you made it this far with the seal on. Soon the third's left hand was lit with blue fire as he touched Naruto's stomach. 5 elemental seal released. Naruto felt the effects instantly. Thanks, old man. No problem, Naruto. There are spare shirts over in the corner. The third pointed to the corner in the room where spare supplies were stacked. He then walked out of the room. You can go back and rejoin the others when you're ready. With that, the third left the room. Deep within Naruto's seal, the Nine Tails lifted its massive head as he noticed the infernal seal being gone. Good, do not disappoint me, Naruto, the great fox thought to itself before going back to sleep. Naruto walked out to the main area after getting a new black shirt, and he noticed that Hinata and Niji were on the arena floor, and that Hinata was crying. This isn't good, Naruto thought to himself, as he made his way upstairs. Chapter 4. The Conviction of Following Your Dream. Naruto made his way upstairs as he kept his eyes trained on the fight below. Something felt off, the tension in the room was suffocating. Give up, Hinata, no matter what you do, no matter how much you try. You can't defy fate. My eyes see everything and you are simply too weak to fight me. Hinata just stood there as more tears slid down her face. She was about to raise her hand when a voice she knew all too well sounded through the room in the form of a loud scoff. Niji turned to look at the blonde with a glare. Do you wish to say something? Our fates are in our own hands, Niji, and Hinata have more strength than you could ever imagine. Naruto spoke in an even tone. He had not intended to speak up, but Niji's talk of fate had really rubbed him the wrong way. Whenever he looked at Hinata, he saw past the shy exterior and saw the same look that Haku had. A look saying they would sacrifice everything for their loved ones, a look he saw in himself. Our fates were decided from the moment we were born. Niji had a very cold look on his face as he was angered by the blonde's words. If you truly believe that, then you're an idiot. Naruto let some of his own anger slip into his tone as the rest of the contestants looked at the exchange with intrigue. Niji sneered at the blonde and turned to Hinata to continue his tirade of insults when he saw the look of determination she now held. A few words from a fool won't change anything. Give up. Hinata took a breath as she activated her and got into her stance. I won't give up without at least trying. Niji looked furious as he ran at Hinata, and the two started a fight that was more akin to a dance than anything else. Wow! Look at how they move, it's incredible, said Ino. Yes. That is the Hyuga-style taijutsu. It's one of the most dangerous taijutsu styles in the world. They can injure you with a single touch of a finger. The style relies on shutting down the chakra system in the body by closing points one can only see with their bloodline. Guy told all the genin nearby when he heard Ino's remark. They were evenly matched, Sakura said as she looked at the two combatants as they stood still and traded palm strikes and finger jabs. Each blow was being slapped away and countered with a strike from the other. Naruto let out a small frown. No. Sakura and Ino turned their heads to him. Niji has the upper hand. He's managed to land several blows to her arm. Everyone turned back to the fight in time to see Hinata land a blow on Niji's shoulder only to make a horrified face. I see you finally noticed. Niji grabbed Hinata's arm and rolled up her beige jacket to show her arm littered with red dots where he had struck her. As I told you, it was your fate to lose. Niji used her distraction and hit her several times all over her body before landing a blow to her chest that launched her across the room. Hinata stood back up on shaky legs, and the proctor, seeing the fight was over, called the match. Why did you stand back up? Niji questioned the beaten Kunoichi. Hi. Hinata coughed up blood before continuing. I can't just give up. I know how much you hurt because of the clan elders, just like I do. Niji looked absolutely livid and rushed Hinata. Everyone looked on with widened eyes. Before anyone could react, Naruto channeled chakra all over his body and moved at an incredible speed. He kicked Niji away from Hinata and stood in front of her. Niji slammed his hand on the ground, flipped mid-air and landed on his feet. The two genins dashed at each other, but they were restrained by both their respective senseis along with the proctor and the senseis of Team 8 and 10. The other rookies looked stunned at the speed. Naruto had moved faster than any of them could see. When did Naruto get so fast? What's your sensei teaching your team? Ino looked over at Sakura and she looked just as stunned as everyone. Any further thoughts were cut short. Enough! The third's voice boomed across the hall as he unleashed a massive amount of killing intent that brought most of the genin to their knees. As this was happening, the medical team had taken Hinata away. This is your first and only warning. Do not fight in here unsupervised or you'll both be disqualified. That goes for everyone else too. Both Naruto and Niji nodded, but the blonde had not stopped glaring at the older Hyuga. Soon the two were brought back upstairs but kept separated with teams 8 and 10 between them. The proctor waited for everyone to calm down and called the next match. Would Gaara and Rock Lee please come down? Lee, who had been quiet since his teammate had been called, exploded in a loud cheer. Yes. I'll finally show everyone my flames of youth. Lee somersaulted over the rail as Gaara appeared in a body flicker of sand. Go Lee! Show everyone the fruits of your hard work. Guy's voice was even louder than Lee's. Gaara looked on emotionlessly as his opponent stood at the ready with pure determination shining in his eyes. If both fighters are ready, begin. Gaara looked on with his face as calm as ever as his opponent sprinted at him and tried to punch him, only for the lid on the gourd on Gaara's back to shoot off as sand came out and blocked the green-clad genin. Lee quickly backed up, circled around him before trying again as he jumped in the air and did a spin kick. Leaf Hurricane. The kick was blocked once again as the sand jumped up by itself to protect Gaara and Lee was forced back. Lee continued to try different angles but nothing was working, his every attempt being stopped by the sand. Gaara looked up for the first time in the match and the sand shot up and slammed into Lee. The green-clad ninja crossed his arms as the sand pushed him away from Gaara and towards the wall. Lee quickly regained his footing as he rushed Gaara again and tried a variety of different combination moves, but it was all futile. Why doesn't Lee try some ninjutsu or? Sakura's inquiry was answered by Guy. That's because he can't. Lee can only use taijutsu. Sakura looked perplexed. You see, Lee was born with chakra coils too small to properly channel chakra for anything other than taijutsu. Lee is not talented at all, but it was through his pure work ethic that he has reached this level. Lee's dream is to become a great ninja despite his inability to use gen or ninjutsu. Sakura was about to question Guy once more but was stopped by the man's shout. Take them off, Lee. You have my permission. Guy posed with teeth sparkling as he gave Lee a thumbs up. Lee, who was dodging sand, let loose a million-watt smile as he jumped from the floor to the top of the statue. Are you sure, Guy-sensei? Yes. Go, it's time to show your blazing flames of youth. Of course, Guy-sensei. Lee pulled up his leg warmers to show ankle weights. Lee unstrapped the weights and held them at his sides. Please, as if some measly weights will do anything against Gaara. Naruto heard the sand kunoichi speak to her makeup-wearing teammate, who nodded along. His attention was brought back to his own team sensei. A bit antiquated, don't you think, Guy? Kakashi questioned Guy, who said nothing, his sole focus on his student down below. Lee let go of the weights, and as they hit the ground they made huge impact craters. All around yells of disbelief rang out. Naruto's own eyes widened with awe and respect as he watched Lee blur away. He's so fast. I can barely see him moving down there, thought Naruto. Lee appeared beside Gaara and aimed a punch to his face. The sand reacted just in time, but Gaara himself didn't seem to notice Lee at all. Lee then circled around and delivered a kick to Gaara's midsection, and once again the sand just barely made it. Lee stepped back and jumped before delivering a double axe kick. The first was met with Gaara's sand, but the second one broke through and Gaara's head snapped down from the force of the kick. Lee, not wasting the opportunity, landed on his feet before launching a punch to Gaara's face that sent him flying. Naruto heard the blonde from the sand team yell in shock. He hit Gaara. He also noticed that her teammate also looked just as shocked. Go Lee! Guy's cheering was easily the loudest anyone had cheered during the preliminaries. Gaara stood back up. His face had cracks running all over where Lee had hit. Pieces of his face fell to the ground and it was shown that he was wearing sand armor. Gaara's face contorted into an absolutely bloodthirsty grin as his killing intent skyrocketed. Yes. You are worthy. By killing you I shall prove my existence. Gaara raised his hands and the sand followed his movement. The sand started moving faster than any previous time it had moved before. Naruto narrowed his eyes as Lee jumped back to avoid the sand. What a troublesome opponent. Lee continued dodging before blurring forward and once again punching his way through Gaara's automatic defense. Lee then dropped low and kicked Gaara up with all his might and Gaara flew up. Lee followed Gaara and delivered more and more kicks pushing him higher and higher. Naruto saw Lee wince, and as he closed his eyes he noticed Gaara had taken the opening to substitute himself with a sand clone. That's not good, Naruto thought grimly. As Lee reached his apex he wrapped his bandages around the clone and started spinning them as they started falling headfirst. Primary Lotus. Lee jumped away just before they hit the ground and the sand alone cratered the ground. Yes. He got him. Sakura cheered and most of the genin and Guy celebrated. No, he didn't. Sakura looked at Naruto in disbelief as Guy took a closer look to the combatants as his face fell. Yes, he did, screamed Sakura. Naruto's right, Sakura. Gaara substituted himself when Lee closed his eyes because of the pain. I'm surprised you caught that, Naruto. Naruto ignored Kakashi's backhanded compliment as he never looked away from the fight below. Lee looked worn out and he had a face of grim realization as he saw his Gaara break apart into sand. He was suddenly being thrown around by Gaara's sand. He was barely able to block and he withstood the punishment as best as possible. It was 5 minutes of torture as Lee took hit after hit before Lee started dodging again. Naruto heard Kakashi speak to Guy in a worried tone. Guy, you didn't? He turned to look at Lee and saw Guy had a face of determination. I did. How many gates can he open, Guy? Questioned Kakashi. Lee can open 5 gates. Kakashi's eyes widened. Guy, how could you teach that technique to a genin? Naruto was very annoyed at Kakashi. He understood perfectly why Guy taught Lee. It was to help him achieve his dream. Naruto himself never received any acknowledgement or support for his dream. The only 2 people who had never made fun of him were Iruka-sensei and Old Man Hokage himself. He wanted to prove them right. It was completely irresponsible of you to Naruto had finally had enough. Shut your mouth, Kakashi. Jonin and genin alike looked at the blonde in shock. Who the hell do you think you are, blaming Guy for helping his student try and reach his dream? That's what a good sensei is supposed to do. Naruto was glaring at his team sensei. Kakashi looked flabbergasted at his blonde student's sudden outburst, and before he could respond everyone's attention was brought back to the fight. Gate of Life, open! Lee's body exploded in chakra as his skin turned a pinkish hue and his hair started to rise. Gate of Pain, open! Lee moved faster than Naruto could follow and Gaara was sent flying up onto the air, his sand unable to keep up as Lee kept batting Gaara around the room. This is crazy. I can't even see them move. Ino's shout was met with dumbfounded stares of her fellow rookies who couldn't follow the action. Lee kicked Gaara high into the air and wrapped his bandages around his waist. As he hits him down, Lee screams again. Gate of Limit, open! Lee jerked his hand up and Gaara was pulled up to Lee, who had his hand cocked back. This is it. Hidden Lotus. Lee hit Gaara so hard it caused a giant shockwave and Gaara's body slammed so hard into the ground it left a giant crater and a dust cloud formed on the floor below. Guy let out a yell as he watched his student hit the ground, his body looking normal after the attack. The smoke around Gaara dissipated and a very injured Gaara lifted his hand as the sand followed his movement. No way! How is he still up after that? Sakura was not the only one to yell in shock. Naruto let out a frustrated sigh at the sight of Gaara as Kakashi spoke up. Gaara shifted the gourd on his back into sand before he hit the ground. No one said anything after that. I barely saw it when it happened. Gaara's monstrously strong, thought Naruto. Gaara watched his opponent stand on shaky legs as his sand wrapped around his right arm and leg. Mother wants your blood. Gaara clenched his fist and crunching could be heard as Lee's appendages exploded in a shower of blood. He fell to the ground unconscious. The proctor was about to declare Gaara the winner when he sent another wave of sand at Lee. Naruto was about to jump down himself only for it to be batted away by Guy. Hey, seeing the interference by A, quickly called the match for Gaara. Why did you save him? He lost. He no longer has any worth. Guy looked at the deranged-looking sand ninja. I saved him because he's my precious student. Guy turned to take Lee to the infirmary only to see him already standing up. Lee, it's okay. Guy started crying when he noticed Lee was unconscious. He quickly got him to lay down as the medics took him and Gaara away to treat their wounds. Would Choji Akimichi and Dosu Kinyuda please make their way down? The proctor announces. Go Choji, if you win we'll have 2 members of Team 10 in the finals. Ino's remark brought the attention of Naruto. I guess Shikamaru fought while I was talking to the old man. Naruto's musing was cut short by the sound of the proctor starting the match. You can't win, just give up. The one-eyed sound ninja made no move to attack Choji, who just glared back. I have to win. Sensei will take us to an all-you-can-eat buffet if I do. Choji had fire in his eyes as he spoke. Fei, no matter what. Dosu charged Choji and hit him with his gauntlet. Choji, who had dodged the punch, fell over and vomited. What? I dodged that attack. Choji's voice was full of confusion. My gauntlet emits a silent sound wave that attacks the human ear. Choji grinned. Then let's see you hit me now. Expansion. Choji's stomach inflated and he hit his arms, legs, and head in his torso. Choji started to spin in place as he shot off towards Dosu. The sound ninja dodged easily to the right as Choji slammed into the wall. Dosu rushed him and slammed his fist into him, letting his melody arm do its work. Seconds later, Choji was back to normal and Proctor called the match. Gaara had made his way back and was covered in bandages. Would each match winner please make their way down? The genins made their way and lined up in front of the Proctor. Hate stepped back as the third moved to speak to the genin. Congratulations for making it to the finals. As you know, there are 3 parts to the exams and the finals will be a series of one-on-one fights tournament style. This caused Temari to speak up. Are you saying only one person gets to be promoted? The third inhaled a deep breath from his pipe. No, you could win every fight and not be promoted at the same time. You could lose in the first match and be promoted. There will be a panel of judges that will be evaluating you during the matches. The farther you make it, the better chance you have of impressing the judges and getting promoted. The third took a pause before continuing. You will now draw lots to determine who fights who. The third motioned to a box and one by one they pulled lots until everyone had won. Please show me your numbers. Naruto looked at his number. He had 6. He looked at the others. Niji had 7, Gaara had 5, Shino had 2, Kankuro had 4, Shikamaru had 3, Dosu had 1, and Temari had 8. That meant Sasuke would have number 9 as he had never come back when he had left with Kakashi. Looks like Sensei already left, thought Naruto as he saw Kakashi was no longer in the room. The matches will be Dosu vs Shino, Shikamaru vs Kankuro, Gaara vs Naruto, Niji vs Temari. The winner of the final fight will go against Sasuke to see who moves on to the next round. The third statement made both Temari and Niji look angry as they had to potentially fight one more opponent to reach the first round. You have a month to train, do not waste the opportunity. The third left and soon the ANBU led them all out of the forest, and in 2 hours everyone made it out and went their own way. Ino ran towards Naruto, who was already leaving. Hey Naruto! Don't you remember, you promised to tell me what happened? Naruto cursed inwardly as he was already tired and just wanted to go home and rest. Fine. Ino looked happy. But not here. Ino's face dropped. If not here, then where? Her voice was irritated. My house. Ino's face was red, though Naruto couldn't tell if it was because of anger or embarrassment. There is no way I'm going to your house. Naruto looked calmly at Ino. Then I guess you don't want to know what happened. Ino bit her lip and sighed. Fine, but no funny business, Naruto. Naruto rolled his eyes and made his way to his favorite food stand with Ino on his heels. Ino noticed how some of the villagers would glare at Naruto behind his back. Wait, what are we doing here? I haven't eaten a decent meal in a week and I'm taking some home. I don't feel like cooking tonight. Naruto's response completely floored Ino. You can cook? Naruto stopped and looked at his fellow blonde. Ino, I've been living by myself since I was 6. Of course I know how to cook. Ino stopped walking for a second before following the other blonde. Do you want something, Ino? Ino snapped out of her thoughts, and she noticed they had made it to their destination. Ino stopped her instant refusal. She, like Naruto, hadn't eaten in a week, so she said yes before remembering she didn't have any money. Naruto just shook his head. Don't worry about it, I got it covered. I'll be back soon. Naruto walked into the stand and soon came out with 2 containers. It took another 20 minutes of walking before making it to Naruto's apartment. Ino noticed he lived in one of the more rundown parts of town. Well, here we are, Naruto said as he opened the door. Ino looked around and saw a kitchen-living room combo and 2 doors, one she was assuming was to the bathroom and his bedroom. The apartment was sparsely decorated with a single worn couch in front of an older TV. There was a table with 2 chairs in the kitchen area. You only have 2 chairs? Ino's question had come out before she could stop herself. Naruto had set the containers down on the table as he pulled out bowls and chopsticks. I don't really need more than that. You're actually the first person to come in here who isn't an old man Hokage. Ino always forgot the close relation her fellow blonde had with their Hokage. Ino sat in one of the chairs and they ate dinner in silence. When they were done, Ino finally asked Naruto what happened. The whiskered blonde took a deep breath before answering. We were attacked by Orochimaru. Ino let out a gasp. He blew me away with a massive wind and I had to deal with the snake summon before I could make my way back to help the others. He just toyed with us until he placed a seal on me that messed with my chakra. Then he brought out this weird sword and was about to hit Sasuke with it when he substituted with me. Ino spoke out in defense of the Uchiha. There's no way Sasuke would do that. Why would I lie to Ino? Naruto's even tone caught her flat-footed, and she involuntarily glanced at his chest where she knew his scar lay. Ino sat quietly, unable to comprehend how someone could use a comrade like that. He bit Sasuke and left. I'm pretty sure those weird markings are his doing. He has a mark where he bit him. Then Sakura abandoned me in the forest, where I bled out for a while until I managed to close the wound. Both blondes sat in the kitchen, the street lights outside already on as the sun had gone out. Come on, Ino, I'll walk you home. It's already late. Ino looked up and simply nodded. Wait, what about the seal on your stomach? Did you get it removed? Said Ino. I got the seal he placed on me removed. The third took care of it when I went to get treated after my match. The two blondes left, and Ino once again noticed some people who glared at her fellow blonde. They all looked away when Naruto glared back. Why do they glare at you? Did you pull a prank on all of them? Naruto looked at Ino. I might tell you some other day. I've reached my limit for sharing for a day. Soon the two blondes reached the Yamanaka flower shop as it acted as the front entrance to their clan compound. I'll see you around, Ino. Naruto turned and walked back to his home, but he heard Ino mutter, Thanks for walking me home, Naruto. The blonde quickly took to the roofs and made his way home, where he showered and got in bed. I need to talk to Kakashi to see if he's actually going to train me. Naruto let out a small snort. Probably not. I need to go to the old man and see if he has anything that could help with my training. I need to work on my arsenal and my fighting style. The shadow clones will help speed things up. I need to really step up my training to deal with Gaara. He then put a hand on his stomach. I need to get stronger. With that final thought, Naruto went to sleep. Chapter 5, Training. Naruto woke up early in the morning and began his early morning rituals. Once he was finished, he made two clones, one to go look for Kakashi and the other to go buy supplies he was short on in his home. He told his clone to check the hospital where Sasuke would be staying, as that was the best bet to find his team's sensei. Naruto started making his way to the Hokage Tower to see if the old man could help him with something specific. He took his time admiring the early machinations of the village. He ended up walking by an orphanage and saw the kids playing in the jungle gym nearby. He felt a pang of sympathy and decided he could spare some time to play with some of the kids who looked downtrodden. It's not like the Hokage is going anywhere. The air in the hospital was stale. Man, boss is so lucky he doesn't have to be here. The clone of Naruto had been waiting for half an hour. He had seen his teammate come by looking like she had been crying with a bouquet of flowers. She had not acknowledged him, and he was fine with that too. It was then that he saw Kakashi walk with his famous orange book in hand. Hello, Naruto, here to see Sasuke? Kakashi's tone was almost lazy. No, I came here for you. I was wondering. Naruto was cut off by Kakashi. I know what you're going to ask, Naruto, and I am sorry. I'm already planning on training Sasuke for the month. I don't have time to help you either. Kakashi looked up from his book. Honestly, you should forfeit the match, Naruto. Gaara could kill you and I don't think you're ready yet. Yeah, the boss figured he would say that. Kakashi looked startled as his student popped. Naruto had just been making his way up to the Hokage's office when the memory of his clones hit him. The blonde just sighed sadly as he felt a pang in his chest. He was expecting Kakashi to blow him off for Sasuke. He had not expected him to tell him to give up. That stung. He had already talked to the receptionist, and after a 5-minute wait, he was called in. Hello, Naruto, how are you? The third voice was always calming to Naruto. It was the one constant he had in his life. I'm doing okay, but I need your help, old man. The third simply nodded, signifying the blonde should continue. Can you help me learn the 5-element seal counter? The seal completely messed up my chakra. I need to be able to remove it if I ever get hit by it again. The third took a moment to study the blonde before he nodded. The easiest way to learn the counter is to learn the technique. The third reached down into his drawer and pulled out a book about the same size as Kakashi's Makeout Tactics. This is a book on beginner level. If you can read this book and master the basics here, I can help you learn the 5-element sealing technique. The third handed the book to Naruto, who glanced at the title Fuinjutsu for Dummies by Tobirama Senju before he skimmed it. From what he could see, it was a lot of theory and penmanship practice along with explaining how symbols interact with each other. Thanks, old man, Naruto said with a smile. So do you have a training schedule for the month yet? The third questioned the blonde. Naruto let out a frown. Yeah, I'm going to hit the archives and see if I can learn some more. While my clones work on them and more chakra control, I'm going to be working on my speed. The third let out a small smile. It sounds like Kakashi is taking full advantage of your shadow clones to train you. Naruto shook his head. No, Kakashi isn't training me this month. He's too busy with Sasuke. The third also frowned. Before inhaling with his pipe, Naruto, do you know your nature affinity? The third sighed when he saw the blonde look at him in pure confusion. Naruto, nature affinities determine what elemental you are most suited for. Does that mean if I have a fire affinity I can't learn any other than fire style? The third smiled at Naruto, remembering his days as a sensei. No, it just means fire style will be the easiest for you to learn. What nature element were you planning on learning? Naruto looked at the third with determination blazing in his eyes. All of them. The third Hokage choked as he inhaled too quickly on his pipe. Are you sure about that, my boy? Mastering all the elements is incredibly difficult. Naruto looked out the window to the village below before answering. I know, but the man I respect the most did it, and I want to follow in his footsteps. The third looked confused. The fourth wasn't known for using all the elements. Naruto looked back towards the third. I know, but you are. The third looked confused, contemplating the young blonde's answer. I thought the fourth was your favorite Hokage. Naruto looked down before speaking in a quiet voice. He's my favorite hero. He was always a fictional character in my mind, a perfect image to strive for. Naruto paused and the third kept his entire focus on the blonde. I grew up hearing stories of him, but all those mean nothing to the impact you've had. I've always looked up to you. You gave me hope when things were at their darkest. I could always count on you to be there for me even though you're so busy with the village. I want to be Hokage not to be acknowledged but because I want to be what you are to me and so many other people. I want to be the pillar people depend on when they can't go on anymore. I don't know when I lost myself or my goal, but I need to get stronger to protect you and this village you've sacrificed so much for. Naruto had turned away from the third during his speech and he missed the single tear that ran down his cheek. The third cleared his eyes and went over to the blonde to give him a hug. The two stayed like that for a moment before the third moved back to his chair. He then reached into his drawer again and pulled out a scroll and a piece of paper. Well, I can't train you personally, but I think I can help you move in the right direction. Push your chakra into this. The third handed Naruto the piece of paper. As soon as the blonde channeled chakra through the paper is split in two with a part of the paper crumbling to dust. Well, it looks like you have a wind affinity with a minor earth one. Wind is the most offensive element with earth being the most defensive. The third started writing in the scroll and 5 minutes later he handed that to the blonde as well. I wrote a for each element except for your natural affinities. I put down 2 for each along with the body flicker and a variation of the shadow clone I invented. It's called the Shuriken Shadow Clone and it works just like the Shadow Clone except it does it to your Shuriken as the name suggests. As for the body flicker, I saw you've been using a bastardized version when you move so those 2 shouldn't give you too much trouble. You'll also notice I gave you another chakra control exercise in there along the basic ways to train your affinities. Promise me you'll be careful when you're out there training Naruto. Naruto tackled the third and whispered a quiet thank you, his voice flush with emotion. The third patted his head and held him. The blonde let him go and looked him straight in the eye. I won't let you down, old man. I know you won't like Naruto. The blonde left the office full of determination and made his way to a popular store that sold ninja gear. My jumpsuit is ruined and might as well get a new outfit. He barely paid attention to the salesgirl as he picked up some black pants along with a dark green shirt. He then noticed the store had a burnt orange short-sleeved hooded jacket. The final items he picked up were some dark brown ninja sandals and a new black cloth for his headband. He made a clone that took his new purchases home, and gave him the book on sealing telling him to get started reading it. He made his way to Training Ground 7 and quickly pulled out the scroll the third had given him as he saw the list along with a note. Naruto, here is the list for each of the elements. Earth style. Practice brick jutsu D rank hand seals. Ram tiger snake dog rat ox horse rabbit tiger boar snake. Creates a weak wall made of earth perfect for learning earth style. Learn before mud wall. Earth style. Mud wall jutsu B rank hand seals. Tiger hair dog. Creates a strong earth wall. Can be used by spitting out mud user creates or using pre-existing earth. Hardness varies depending on the chakra used. Wind style. Breakthrough jutsu D rank hand seals. Dog horse bird. The user gathers wind chakra in their stomach and releases a strong gust of wind that can knock people away. Learn before great breakthrough. Wind style. Great breakthrough jutsu C rank hand seals. Tiger ox dog rabbit snake. The user breathes wind out of the mouth. The power varies depending on the skill of the user and amount of chakra used. Fire style. Great fireball jutsu C rank hand seals. Snake ram monkey boar horse tiger. User turns chakra into fire inside their body and releases it in a giant ball. The more chakra used, the more fire produced. Water style. Raging waves jutsu C rank hand seals. dragon tiger hair. The user spits out a large amount of water from their mouth with enough pressure to knock human targets away. Amount changes with chakra used. Lightning style, electromagnetic murder jutsu C rank hand seals, boar ram snake horse dragon. The user gathers lightning chakra into their hands that surges forward when touching the ground. Power varies from small shock to lethal dosage with the amount of chakra used. You can practice basic nature transformation by grabbing a leaf to channel the element. For wind, you need to split the leaf with your chakra. For earth, you need to take a leaf and dry it out with earth chakra. For fire, you need to burn the leaf. For water, you need to make the leaf soggy, and for lightning, you must make the leaf curl into itself. Here are the other 2 jutsu you can learn. Eventually, you will be able to tell the difference in the elemental chakra. That is the main goal. As you progress, try to imagine the element you are trying to channel in your mind. Ninja arts, shuriken shadow clone jutsu A rank hand seals, ox dog dragon rat dog boar snake tiger. The user uses their chakra to clone an object that is thrown. This works for kunai and other thrown projectiles. Ninja arts, body flicker D rank hand seals, tiger. The user floods the body with chakra to temporarily vitalize themselves to move at an incredibly high speed. There is another chakra control exercise you can learn called water walking. It is like the tree climbing you already learned on your mission to wave, but much harder, as you must constantly change the amount of chakra flowing to your feet. I hope this helps you achieve your goals, Naruto. I will always believe in you. Hiruzen Sarutobi, the 3rd Hokage. P.S. Try combining them together. Naruto made 30 clones and separated them into groups of 5, and each group went to work on a nature transformation and water walking. He made another 10 clones and had them spare with him and help him with more physical exercises. Naruto had worked till sundown, where he started popping his clones and got their memories back. He had made some progress with water walking. Wind and earth nature transformation was going at a decent pace compared to the other elements, but he had made minimal progress. Well, he did say it was going to be difficult. Naruto made his way home to rest. Naruto spent the first week honing his chakra control. He had upped his clones to 40 a day. On the second day, he made the new clones work on the body flicker and the shadow shuriken, and by the 5th day he had managed to occasionally sense the difference between each of the elements. Each day he drove himself into the ground with physical exercise, and he had started sparring with 10 clones at a time to help him sharpen his instincts. He would look for a style, but it would go against his free-flowing nature. Tomorrow Naruto would start the new week and have his clones move on to practicing themselves. Naruto was currently walking home from another grueling day of training, reading the book the 3rd gave him. He had made sure to make an additional clone before he began training to read the book while he trained. Naruto was pulled out of his reading by the voice of his female teammate. "What, are you trying to copy Kakashi-sensei now, Naruto?" Naruto looked up from his book to see both Ino and Sakura standing in front of him. "No, I just can't waste any time if I want to finish this before the month is up." Naruto noticed they were coming from the direction of his apartment. "Why are you guys in this part of town?" Ino took the chance to speak up. "Well, Forehead and I have been trying to find you to see if you needed any help with training. We heard how Kakashi-sensei took Sasuke away for a month to train." She then turned to Sakura and made a go-ahead motion. "Yeah, I also wanted to take this as an opportunity to make up for what happened in the forest." Sakura had pure sincerity in her voice. Naruto took a moment before answering. He was still mad at his team, but he didn't like holding grudges, so he would take the olive branch. "Not that I'm going to forget what happened," thought Naruto. "I appreciate the offer, but I don't think you can help me train." Ino and Sakura looked offended. Naruto, seeing the looks, explained. "Unless you guys can help me with my nature transformation, you really can't do much aside from some sparring." Both girls quickly lost their looks of anger and replaced them with looks of wonder. "You're doing nature transformation training? What are your elements?" Ino asked the question both she and Sakura wanted to ask. "Ino, I'm not going to tell you. If Shikamaru wins his match, he's going to be my opponent in the next round." Naruto's answer brought Ino down before she nodded reluctantly. Sakura looked at the book with interest. "Well, maybe we can help you with whatever it is you're reading?" Sakura's suggestion was then met with an irate Ino. "Wait a moment, you're not reading anything like what Kakashi reads, are you, Naruto?" Sakura blushed a deep crimson as her earlier words came back to her. Naruto sighed to himself as he showed the book to the girls, trying to avoid the explosion of anger that was Ino and Sakura. "No, it's a book on. I'm trying to learn the technique that he used on me, so if I ever get hit with it again I can remove it myself." Sakura looked at the book and whistled at how complex it is. "This is really complex. How can you understand it?" Sakura backpedaled. "That came out wrong," Naruto shrugged. "I don't know, most of it just kinda clicks for me. It's kinda like building a puzzle." Naruto, seeing he was already late, decided to head home. "Anyway, I need to head home. I'll see you guys later." With a speedy goodbye, the trio made their way home. Naruto entered his home and saw a scroll on his table. He made a clone and he opened the scroll. Once he saw it was safe, he popped the clone and took the scroll. Naruto, please come to my office tomorrow around noon. I have a person who wants to meet you. Hiruzen Sarutobi, the third Hokage. Naruto set the scroll down and did his evening rituals before going to bed, where he got into a meditative pose and began feeling his chakra. Naruto found himself in a familiar sewer. So you've come back. Naruto looked at the massive nine-tailed fox that was sealed in his stomach. I wanted to speak with you. I wanted to thank you for your advice when we last met. The fox looked at his container. Don't bother. I simply couldn't allow you to make such a fool of yourself out there. Naruto sat down and stared at the fox. I never introduced myself. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. Nice to meet you. Naruto smiled at the big fox, who exhaled and blew the blonde onto his back. You've already proven yourself far more polite than many of your kind. Now be gone, you've picked up an annoying habit of interrupting my sleep. Naruto nodded and found himself back in his room. Naruto went to the training ground and made 51 clones. 5 groups of 5 would work on the elemental, 10 would work finishing the body flicker and the shuriken shadow clone. He would have the rest working on hand seal speed and calligraphy, plus the 1 clone who would continue reading the book. It was nearing noon when Naruto stopped his own workout and he started making his way to the Hokage's office. He went in and saw the third sitting in his chair while a white-haired ninja stood behind him. Hello Naruto, this is the third was cut off as the white-haired man jumped forward and exploded into smoke. When the smoke cleared, he was standing on a big toad. I am known all throughout the land. Ladies wish to be with me while men curse my name in envy. I am the legendary sage of Mount Myaboku, the great toad sage Jiraiya. Naruto stared at the old man for a solid 20 seconds before looking at the third. So, why did you want to talk to me? Jiraiya's face faltered before jumping back to his feet. Jiraiya and I were discussing the exams and you were brought up. He has offered to train you for the rest of the month. The third turned to Jiraiya, who nodded. That's right, be amazed at my great generosity. Naruto looked at the strange man. What are you going to teach me? Jiraiya looked at the blonde with a serious face. Have you ever felt like you had another child? Naruto knew where he was going and interrupted him with an annoyed face. I know about the 9 tails. And if that's all you're going to teach me, then I refuse. Jiraiya had a grim face. Listen kid, the chakra of the 9 tails is a great tool. You can't just ignore it. Naruto scowled. I won't, but the 9 tails chakra is just that, a tool. No matter how powerful it is, if I'm not strong enough on my own, then it's useless. Jiraiya was about to respond but was stopped by the third. He's right Jiraiya, if you plan on only training him on using the fox's chakra, then he's better off following his own training schedule. Jiraiya let out a sigh before nodding, then he looked up with an energetic aura. Alright, well how about I teach you the summoning? I hold the contract for the toads. Naruto thought about it for a second before responding. What can I do with that? The toads are some of the best summons in the world. There are many uses for them, from sending long-range messages to summoning giant battle toads to help you in combat. Naruto contemplated the offer. That did sound pretty amazing, not to mention versatile. Alright, you have a deal. Great. Let's go then, no sense in wasting time. The blonde nodded to the Jiraiya and the two left with a quick goodbye to the third, who told Naruto to come by at 8 so he could help him begin to learn the 5-element seal. The two made it to the outskirts of the village and to a very obscure training ground. Okay kid, first things first, you have to sign your name here in the summoning contract. Whenever you want to summon a toad, you have to sacrifice a bit of blood. Jiraiya bit his thumb and ran through some hand seals before slamming his hand on the ground and a dog-sized toad. The toad then went up in smoke as it disappeared. Jiraiya reached behind him and pulled out his big scroll. Just sign your name in blood and we can begin training. Naruto bit his thumb like he had seen Jiraiya do and wrote his name, so the fourth also signed with the toads. Naruto had noticed the name Minato Namikaze in the middle of his newly made name, and that of Jiraiya's. Good hand signs for the summoning contract are boar, dog, bird, monkey, and ram. Naruto took a moment to memorize the seals before biting his thumb again and going through the seals and pouring a bit of chakra into it. Summoning Jutsu. There was a cloud of smoke, and when it cleared it showed a small orange toad wearing a blue vest. Yo, my name is Gamakichi. Naruto looked at the small toad with a raised eyebrow. Hello, my name is Naruto Uzumaki. I just signed the toad contract. The small toad nodded along. Nice to meet ya. You're lucky I came and not my brother. He would have annoyed you until you gave him something to eat. Naruto nodded. That would have been troublesome. He didn't really feel like going back to town to get food. Anyway, I'll let Pops know we have a new summoner later. With that, Gamakichi left. Good, you did surprisingly well for your first time. How much chakra did you use? I used about the same amount as I do when I summoned 2 shadow clones. Jiraiya nodded. Alright, let's see what you can summon. This time I want you to use as much chakra as possible. Jiraiya jumped back slightly. Naruto closed his eyes and concentrated as he started gathering a large amount of chakra. He performed the jutsu and a massive pillar of smoke could be seen. Jiraiya! Why the hell did you summon me, you old fool? When the smoke cleared, a gigantic rust-red toad with a scar over his left eye could be seen. He was wearing a blue vest and carried a large blade on his waist. He was smoking a large pipe that was hanging from his mouth. Naruto, who was on top of his head, jumped down to his nose as he looked at the toad he had summoned. He's almost as big as the Nine Tails, thought Naruto. Who are you? The red toad spoke. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. I'm the new summoner of the toad contract. I was practicing to see what the biggest toad I could summon was. The toad looked at the blonde before letting out a laugh. Ha! As if a little pipsqueak like you could summon me. Naruto looked annoyed and simply jumped off the toad as he bit his thumb and ran through the hand seals again, only this time he didn't hold back and was rewarded with a small poof of smoke. Naruto was breathing heavily from the amount of chakra he had used. That's weird, I used a lot of chakra. Naruto thought as he heard the big toad laugh. His laughter died off and was replaced with a look of shock when he saw the small old-looking green toad wearing a gray cloak. The small toad looked around and quickly saw his new blonde summoner. Why hello there, young tadpoles. I had sensed we had a new summoner, but how did you summon me? Naruto, seeing both the giant toad's shocked faces along with Jiraiya as he fell from the tree he was hiding in, assumed the toad in front of him was important. It did help that his instincts were screaming at him that the small toad could kick his ass better than the walking mountain. I didn't know I summoned the big one behind you and a smaller toad named Gamakichi earlier. I told Gamakichi I was the new summoner, but the big one didn't believe me, so I was gonna summon another big toad and you appeared. The green toad nodded. I see, you must have a lot of chakra then. Naruto nodded. He was often told how much chakra he had and how much he wasted. He had been using every trick he knew old and new to help him perfect his control. Yes, I have been told I have one of the biggest chakra pools in the village. Well, my name is Fukasaku, but most people call me Pa, and I am one of the two great toad sages of Mount Miyaboku, the other being my wife Shima. The big one behind me is Gamabunta, the current head of the Toad clan. When you gain a bit more experience with fighting alongside us, summon me again. There is much I could teach you. Fukasaku turned to Gamabunta. And you, Bunta boy, don't be so impolite, I can't believe you haven't even introduced yourself yet. The now named Gamabunta nodded before offering a small apology. We'll be seeing you, tadpole. Don't hesitate to call on us if you ever need help. With his parting words, both toads left. It was a very quiet Jiraiya that was left with Naruto. I can't believe you managed to summon Pa. Naruto just shook his head, and the two spent the rest of the day by summoning various other toads, and how they could be used in combat. Jiraiya also demonstrated how they could collaborate with them. The blonde spent the next 2 weeks working on his mother along with his chakra control and his hand seal speed. Every other day he would go to the third and practice the 5-element seal. Naruto spent the last week training to see how to best use his newly acquired arsenal in a fight and working with certain toads in combination. He also spent time polishing everything he had learned. He had also discovered on complete accident that if he flooded his arm with earth chakra it would turn black and he could easily punch through trees. Naruto had made some pretty devastating attacks when combining certain things together. It got worse when he added the toads and their ability to use water style along with being able to spit out oil. The day of the finals, Naruto put on his new gear. The dark green shirt matched well with his burnt orange hoodie that he kept unzipped. His new black headband cloth was longer than his old blue one, and his new black pants had more pockets. Naruto walked calmly to the arena and saw the stands were already full. He was the third last to arrive with both the sound ninja Dosu and his teammate Sasuke missing. He looked at the crowd and managed to see most of his classmates sitting together. He saw her with a bandana and long brown bangs. He was chewing on it. Soon the arena quieted as the third sat up from his chair in the viewing booth alongside the Kazekage. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you all for coming to the finals of the exams. The crowd roared as the third raised his hands in showmanship. Here we go! Thought Naruto as he felt the air buzz with excitement as the finals began. Chapter 6. The results of training. The cheering of the crowd was almost deafening. The arena floor was mostly sparse of green save for a single tree near the edge. Naruto looked at the Hokage as he raised his hand up. The crowd's cheering died down. The proctor of the exam used the moment to come forward. Hello everyone and welcome to the exam finals. There are going to be some minor changes before we begin. Dosa Kinuta is no longer participating in the finals and as such, Sasuke Uchiha shall take his place in the first match. So everyone but Shino Aburame and Sasuke Uchiha, please make your way up to the viewing area so we can begin. Naruto followed Shikamaru up to the viewing area and everyone waited for Sasuke to show up. The crowd was starting to get restless, and after 5 minutes he could see the Hokage and Kazekage speak before sending a messenger to the proctor. As Sasuke Uchiha is not here yet, we shall move the first match back until all other fights are done. If Sasuke Uchiha is not here by then, he will be disqualified. The crowd let out soft boos, but most stayed quiet. Naruto could see people were miffed that he had not shown up yet. Will Shikamaru, Nara, and Kankuro of the Sand please make their way down? I forfeit, yelled Kankuro to the proctor. Naruto's head snapped to the puppet wielder, as every alarm in his head was blaring that this was not normal. The crowd, already unhappy, started booing hard. What is he up to? You don't just quit in the finals. The proctor took a minute to try and calm the crowd as he proclaimed Shikamaru the winner and called the next two participants. Would Naruto, Uzumaki, and Gaara of the Sand please make their way down? Naruto started making his way to the arena but was stopped by Shino and Shikamaru. You should give up Naruto because that guy is something different, Shikamaru said as Shino nodded along. That is correct. His chakra is vile and corrosive. My bugs won't go near him. It reminds me of how they would sometimes act with you. The words meant little to Shikamaru, who didn't understand the full weight of Shino's statement. Naruto simply nodded with an annoyed frown before heading down, and as soon as he was standing in front of Gaara, the crowd exploded in a cheer as they were finally going to see some action. Gaara was releasing some serious killing intent, and Naruto, who was already annoyed by his former classmates, decided to respond in kind. The arena was filled with killing intent, and some of the cheering died down as they felt the tension in the air. Gaara let out a cruel smile when he felt the blonde's own killing intent. The proctor asked if both Naruto and Gaara were ready, and as he received a nod from both, he jumped back. Begin. As soon as the proctor spoke, Naruto raised his left hand in a half-ram seal and used the body flicker to get behind Gaara. He pulled a kunai out with his right hand and tried to slam it into his head from behind but was stopped by the sand. Gaara turned to look at him as the sand lashed out. If that's all you can do, mother will be disappointed. Naruto jumped back to avoid the sand. I know, I just needed to see how quickly that sand reacted up close. Gaara raised his hand and a tendril of sand was sent to Naruto. The blonde quickly went through hand seals and inhaled deeply. Wind style, great breakthrough. Naruto unleashed a gale of wind that dispersed the sand and was headed towards Gaara but was stopped by a wall of sand that came directly from his gourd. Looks like the sand from his gourd is of better quality than the sand he gets from the ground. Gaara let out another smile. Mother wants your blood, she screams at me. She wants your blood. Gaara raised his arms up. Sand shuriken. Sand had gathered in front of Gaara and then shot out at high speeds to the blonde. Naruto avoided the barrage of sand and created 3 clones that circled around Gaara, so he was surrounded. He and his clones went through the same hand seals and all 4 blondes could be heard shouting, water style, raging waves. Each blonde let out pressurized blasts of water, and the Gaara's gourd exploded and formed a sphere around him. Good, it's working, Naruto thought to himself as he watched the sand become muddy as puddles formed on the ground. He stopped his assault and saw most of Gaara's sand was now wet. Naruto and his clones rushed the redhead and his sand came up much slower than before to stop the clones who attacked first. Naruto saw an opening and kicked Gaara in the face and sent him to the ground. Sand exploded from underneath Gaara as a crazed look came to his eye. His chakra darkened and felt familiar to the blonde. So he is like me, yes. You can prove my existence. Gaara sent large waves at the blonde who used his shadow clones as distractions. Naruto and his clones would use the body flicker to move in fast and strike at Gaara. While Naruto wasn't as quick as Lee, he made up for it by attacking at multiple angles at the same time with his clones. Naruto saw 2 of his clones attack as Gaara raised his sand to defend. He quickly appeared behind the sand ninja and hit him, sending him stumbling back. This pattern continued for a couple of minutes. After the 5th hit, Gaara growled and made a dome of sand around himself, and the blonde sent a clone to attack it only to be destroyed as a sand spear grew out of the orb. The crowd had been going crazy as they watched such an amazing match, and cheered even louder when Naruto tried his great breakthrough and a fireball to try and pierce the orb. Damn, I was hoping that would be enough. Naruto summoned 2 clones and bit his thumb before blazing through the same hand seals. Summoning jutsu. The crowd was near deafening as Naruto summoned a large toad almost as big as himself. The toad was velvet and was wearing a brown vest. Hello, Naruto. The velvet toad spoke. Hey Gamataro, do you think you could give me some oil? The toad nodded and he and his clones ran through seals. If one would look closely, they would notice that his clones used different seals than that of their creator. And as one, Naruto and his clones inhaled, and so did Gamataro. Ninja arts, toad oil bullet, wind style, great breakthrough, fire style, great fireball jutsu. Naruto unleashed his fireball as it was powered up massively by his clone's wind. This caused the fire to turn from a warm yellow to a searing blue that was once more augmented by the toad's oil hitting it. The blue wave of fire transformed into a blazing white inferno that caused many in the crowd to yelp in fright as the heat reached them. Naruto could see from the corner of his eye he could see other ninja looking amazed that a genin had such a devastating combination in his arsenal. Naruto kept up the hellish flame attack for 30 seconds before stopping. When the flames cleared he could see the sand orb had been turned to glass as a badly burned Gaara screamed inside. The blonde dashed to the orb before signaling his clones to use another. He waved at Gamataro as he went back home. Naruto gathered earth chakra into his right arm, turning it black before hitting the glass orb, shattering it. Behind him, he could hear shouts of the clones using their water as Gaara was blasted back towards the single tree in the arena. Gaara slowly stood up, absolutely soaked and full of third-degree burns. "It hurts. Mother, it hurts." Gaara kept screaming as Naruto casually walked forward as he made some hand seals and stopped about 10 feet in front of the redhead as he brought his hand down on the giant puddle he was standing on. Lightning style, electromagnetic murder. A surge of electricity ran across the water and Gaara was hit with the full force of the water-enhanced lightning. After 10 seconds Gaara fell down unconscious. Naruto's eyes widened as he felt the buildup of the tailed beast chakra inside of Gaara, and before anyone could react Naruto vanished as he slammed his hand into Gaara's stomach, his fingers lit with glowing kanji. 5-element seal. Naruto felt the chakra disappear and there he could feel the arena shake as the crowd went crazy again. Naruto could see many ninja tenses at the feeling of the demon's chakra before they relaxed slightly when it disappeared. Naruto could hear Temari screaming for her brother as she and Kankuro rushed towards him as the medics took him away. Winner of the third match, Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto made his way back to the viewing area and was met with the shocked faces of his classmates. The proctor allowed the crowd to gossip about the match before quieting them and calling the next match. Would Niji Hyuga and Temari of the Sand please make their way down? Naruto saw Niji make his way to the arena as Temari came out of the tunnels leading to the med bay. The proctor jumped away as he told them to begin. "You should give up, you're no match for me." Niji's voice was clearly heard by all and Naruto let out a small frown. "I don't know if I want him to win so I can kick his ass or lose and get humiliated by Temari," thought Naruto. "Just keep talking. We'll see who comes out on top." Temari opened up her fan fully and swung hard. A blast of wind barreled at Niji, who activated his and was able to see the wind chakra race towards him. The leaf ninja rolled away and he dashed towards the sand kunoichi as she once again sent waves of wind at him. Niji jumped away and closed the distance as he sent a palm strike to the blonde that was blocked by her fan. Temari used her fan as a club as she tried to jump back only for Niji to duck under the swing and hit her several times in her arms and shoulders. Niji then continued his attack and Temari was peppered with finger jabs all over her body before she was sent flying back with a palm strike to her chest. "This match is over. I've closed all the chakra points in your arm, you can no longer fight." Temari slowly raised herself and swung her open fan only for nothing to happen. With a look of frustration, she looked over and muttered to the proctor, "I forfeit." Niji let out a smirk. "Winner Niji Hyuga." The majority of the crowd clapped politely, and some even cheered even when the match was a lot shorter than the last one and not as exciting. "Will Sasuke Uchiha and Shino Abirame please make their way to the arena?" Shino stood silently as they waited for the Uchiha, and after 5 minutes the crowd started booing as they were offended that Sasuke had not shown himself yet. It was after another 5 minutes that the crowd's booing reached a new level as the crowd became unsettled. Seeing the crowd react, Proctor turned to the Hokage, who nodded. "Sasuke Uchiha is disqualified and the winner of the match is Shino Abirame." The crowd cheered as they felt that the Uchiha deserved the disqualification for making them wait. Naruto just shook his head seeing his sensei and teammate not show up. "Would Shino Abirame and Shikamaru Nara please come down? We shall now commence the second round of the finals." Naruto watched as his two classmates stood across from each other as they eyed themselves. "If both fighters are ready, begin." Shikamaru made a hand seal as his shadow extended and Shino jumped back and let his bugs leave from under his coat. It became a game of cat and mouse as the two avoided each other. Shikamaru brought out multiple kunai as he began throwing them at Shino at random intervals. The bug user calmly deflected the kunai when he saw that some of the kunai had sealed tags on them. There were several bright flashes showing that the tags were actually flashbangs. Shino covered his eyes with his arm when he felt himself stop suddenly. "I got you now, Shino." Shikamaru had used the opening the flashbangs had created to extend his shadow and capture Shino. "You may have caught me, but this is my victory." "Why?" "Because my bugs are all around you waiting for my command to attack." Shikamaru looked down and saw hundreds of bugs crawling in the dirt around him. What a troublesome opponent, Proctor, I forfeit. Shikamaru sighed and the proctor called the match. As the two-leaf ninjas shook hands before Shino made his way back to the viewing area, you did well to last so long. It was unfortunate I was your opponent, it was a bad matchup, said Shino. Yeah, I wasn't expecting to fight you at all, this was so troublesome. The proctor spoke up as soon as both genins left. He addressed the crowd. Would Niji Hyuga and Naruto Uzumaki make their way down? Naruto's body flickered down and stood in front of Niji as the two glared at each other. You only made it this far because of luck, but this is where it ends. Fate declared you the loser when you were matched against me. Naruto said nothing and simply got into his fighting stance. What? Too scared to respond. Niji tried to mock Naruto again. Proctor started the match. Naruto never turned away from Niji as he spoke to the proctor, as Niji glared at the blonde. If both fighters are ready, begin. As the proctor jumped away, Niji spoke once more. I shall give you one final chance to give you. Niji had to duck as Naruto used the body flicker and blurred to Niji and tried to kick him. Niji spun and tried to palm strike Naruto, only to be sucker punched by a clone of Naruto. Niji backflipped as he rolled with the punch as he activated his. He saw there were 4 Narutos circling him. He couldn't tell which one was the original as they all had the same amount of chakra. 2 clones ran at him as he spun and deflected their attacks. He tried to counter them only to be interrupted by a third. He saw that another Naruto was running through hand seals and Niji heard him shout out the name of the water style, Raging Waves. Niji saw the attack coming and channeled chakra all over his body as he couldn't dodge as the other clones were blocking his escape. He began spinning as he released his stored chakra. Rotation. Niji was covered in a dome of spinning chakra and as he blocked the water, the clones that were near him were knocked back and dispelled from the hit. Niji stopped spinning and glared at the blonde. The crowd cheered seeing another flashy fight. You might have gotten past Gaara's defenses, but the Hyuga ultimate defense is unbreakable. Naruto scoffed before making 3 clones and sending 2 at Niji. As they engaged him in a taijutsu match, he pulled out 2 shurikens and threw them as he and his clone ran through hand seals. The 2 clones fighting Niji dispersed and coated the area with smoke. Wind style, breakthrough, ninja arts, shuriken shadow clone jutsu. The 2 shuriken Naruto threw picked up speed as they were hit with the wind before multiplying. The 2 shuriken became 2 dozen and Niji, unable to dodge due to the new speed of the shuriken, once again used his rotation. As Niji was slowing down, he was hit in the side by a clone as he was unable to avoid because of his spinning. Another clone hit him into the air and Niji was met with 2 Narutos as they hit him with their right and left fists as he was sent down to the ground. Niji bounced before flipping to his feet. The Hyuga was bleeding from his mouth and was panting slightly. So Niji, is this the part where I give up? After all, isn't my fate to be defeated today? Naruto's words caused the Hyuga to stew in rage. You know nothing. Our fates have been decided since before we were born. Niji reached up and untied his headband to show a seal on his forehead. This seal binds me as a member of the Hyuga side branch. I was born. Niji was interrupted by a kunai that was thrown by Naruto. I don't give a shit. You're barking up the wrong tree if you want to compare seals that bind you. If you want to talk, then give up. Just because something bad happened to you doesn't give you the right to be a prick to innocent people. Niji was consumed by rage and sprinted at Naruto, who deflected all his strikes and jumped back. Niji lowered his stance with both arms stretched out, one lower than the other. Naruto heard some of the Hyugas that were in the stands gasp. It's over. You're within my range. 8 trigrams, 64 palms. 2 palms. Niji sent out 2 finger jabs that were dodged by the blonde. 4 palm. This time the strikes came faster, and the blonde had more trouble dodging them. 8 palms. The speed once again increased as the blonde had to deflect some strikes, unable to dodge all of them. 16 palms. Naruto had to channel chakra to increase his speed as he ducked and weaved through the strikes, Niji's face slowly contorting into an ugly mask of hate as he couldn't land a hit. 64 palms. Niji's hands almost blurred and Naruto was able to deflect all the strikes. The final hit Niji sent was a palm strike that Naruto spun around and delivered a devastating elbow strike to the side of Niji's head. He stumbled and Naruto took advantage as he kneed him in the stomach before grabbing him and throwing him at the wall of the arena, where he channeled earth chakra into his fist and launched a punch at Niji. The older genin just barely moved out of the way as Naruto's punch cracked the wall. Niji got his balance back in time to block a kick that sent him skidding back. Naruto created 5 clones as he rushed Niji, and Niji was barely able to defend himself from the blonde's onslaught. 2 clones came behind Niji and kicked him forward as another clotheslined him as he fell to the ground as 3 Narutos dropped on him with their knees. Niji spits up blood as his eyes roll back into his head. Naruto dispelled his clones and the crowd went crazy. He could see his teammate Sakura cheer on with Ino beside her as the platinum blonde pointed at him enthusiastically. Winner, Naruto Uzumaki. The crowd continued to cheer and the proctor had to call them down. We will now have a 30-minute intermission to allow the finalists rest before conducting the final fig. The proctor was stopped as two people used the body flicker to appear in the middle of the arena. Sorry we're not late, are we? Naruto could do nothing but sigh as he looked at his late team members. Kakashi looked the same as always. Sasuke was wearing black shorts and a black shirt. His hair had lengthened slightly, and he had bandages and a belt wrapped around his left hand. Yes, you are. Naruto spoke and the two turned to face him. Kakashi's eyes widened and Sasuke glared. The crowd had started booing them. The proctor stepped forward to talk to them. Sasuke was disqualified when he didn't show up in time for his match. You guys had ample opportunity to show up, we even moved you to fight back and gave you extra time. Sasuke glared at Kakashi, who simply nodded and took them away from the arena when he saw how hostile the crowd was to them. Naruto turned to walk up to the viewing area as the proctor finished his explanation. Naruto sat down and meditated for the remaining half hour. Naruto heard the proctor call his name alongside Shino's. The two Leaf Ninjas stood in the arena as the crowd cheered. This is the final fight of the exams, which will now commence. Are both fighters ready? Both Shino and Naruto nodded. Begin! The proctor jumped back and Naruto made 3 clones. 2 clones rushed Shino, who let loose his bugs. The clones quickly dispersed as their chakra was drained and the bugs turned their attention to the blonde. The bugs that came near the blonde were burned alive as a fireball hit them courtesy of his one remaining clone. The two stood still as Shino tried to rush them. Blonde, who created 2 more clones and sent them at Shino after a short exchange where Shino was unable to get a hit in as the clones covered each other's weaknesses. Shino jumped back once more before looking at the proctor. I forfeit. Why? Because I am outmatched, my bugs cannot get near him without getting burned. The crowd clapped in polite applause as the proctor came forward. The winner of the exam finals is Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto saw the crowd explode into cheers and when he felt a weird sensation all around him. He smoothed his chakra like so many times before while meditating and saw that all the civilians had fallen asleep. His head snapped to the Kages as their booth exploded, and he could see Sand and Sound Ninja attack his fellow Leaf allies. A purple barrier appeared over the Kages booth as Naruto heard the proctor tell him to get his sensei for orders. Naruto jumped up to the stands where he was attacked by a Sound Ninja. Naruto ducked under a kunai swipe as he brought out his own before jamming it into the neck of the enemy. He spotted Lee and Hinata being protected by Kiba, Sakura, Ino, and Choji. He saw Kakashi and Guy above them taking care of threats to their students, and Sasuke engaging with another Sand Ninja on the other side of the arena. The blonde saw a Sound Kunoichi race towards Hinata and Ino, and he blurred into her path as he kicked her away while summoning a clone to take care of her. Kakashi looked at the gathered genin and saw Naruto had joined him. I want you all to take Lee and Hinata to the hospital, and help any other ninja there in protecting them. I want you to help out any injured civilians you see along the way and escort them there. This isn't time to argue and play around considering this an A-rank mission. The genins nodded and Ino and Sakura helped Lee and Hinata as the rest formed a protective circle. They were joined by Shino, Tenten, and Shikamaru as the group moved to the hospital. On the way there Naruto created 20 clones that spread out. He gave them orders to hide and ambush any enemy ninja they came across. Naruto took a glance back at the tower where the glowing purple barrier stood. Don't you die on me, old man. Naruto thought as he made his way to the hospital. Chapter 7, The Siege on the Leaf. There was only one way to describe the state of the village as Naruto and his teammates made their way to the hospital. Chaos. Pure and utter chaos. Everywhere Naruto looked he saw battles as Sound and Sand Ninja fought the outnumbered Leaf forces 3-1. He saw most of the Leaf Ninja engaging the enemies were ANBU along with the most of the regular forces were either evacuating or protecting valuable locations like the Hokage Tower or the village archive as was normal protocol for such situations. Naruto let out a grimace as he noticed how slowly they were moving through the village streets. We're sitting ducks out here. So far they had rescued a total of 10 civilians that had been trapped under debris from damaged buildings or those who were too scared to move on their own. Naruto noticed a Sound Ninja land in front of the group going through some hand seals. The masked ninja brought his hand up to his face as he took a deep breath. Fire style. Fire bullet jutsu. Naruto cursed as he dashed to the front of the group as he ran through his own hand seals. Earth style. Mud wall jutsu. A wall of earth rose up protecting the group as the light of the fire could be seen from the other side of the earth wall. Naruto created 2 clones as he rushed up the side and around the wall. He rushed at the enemy ninja from different directions, catching the sound ninja off guard. Naruto took a closer look at his enemy, and saw he was covered from head to toe in camouflage, with his hands and eyes being the only things not covered with clothing of some kind. One clone sprinted from the left as the other threw a shuriken. Naruto himself body flickered behind him as he jumped back to avoid the shuriken and the rushing clone. He was met with a kunai to the back of his head courtesy of the whiskered blonde. As the sound of the ninja fell, Naruto could see the light in his eyes get snuffed out as death claimed him. The blonde took a breath to compose himself as his stomach churned with discomfort as Bao threatened to escape. I can deal with my problems later, with focus, Naruto whispered to himself. The earth wall fell as the group came forward. Most of his classmates stared at the dead body with a mixture of emotions. Many of the civilians lost their lunch as they were not used to such situations. The whole exchange lasted no more than 10 seconds. Let's keep going. Nobody argued with the blonde, though the pace was significantly faster, as many of the civilians picked up their pace, not wanting to be out in the open longer than necessary. Naruto stumbled and almost threw up again as he got the memories of some of his clones. So many dead bodies, Naruto thought as he saw himself ambush several ninjas in many different ways. Some used kunai, others used, but the blonde could remember every detail as they died. He also saw how he saved groups of civilians from attacking Sound Ninja, though some were not so lucky, and from what he could see, some of the Sound Ninjas liked to play with their victims. They're monsters, no better than the thugs Gato hired in Wave. Ino, who was in the middle of the group helping some of the injured move, saw her fellow blonde stumble. Are you alright? Naruto didn't look at the platinum blonde as he responded, his eyes never stopping as he scanned the area for more enemies once he centered himself. No, but I'll deal with it as soon as we're all safe. Ino nodded but still sent concerned glances at Naruto. Shino stepped up next to the blonde as he led the group to the hospital with Shikamaru. I have sent a perimeter around us with my insects. It should give us ample warning to enemy movement and help us to avoid any more conflict. We're about 5 blocks away from the hospital. Shikamaru said to his 2 friends. Right, we need to be more careful. If we've gotten lucky that the ANBU and the other higher rank Leaf Ninja have mostly cleared the area and are keeping the rest distracted. The 2 nodded as they went back to the right and left of the group respectively. Naruto traded places with Kiba, who was now leading the group so he could sniff out any threats, as the blonde went to the middle so he could more easily maneuver to confront any enemy that slipped by their defenses. The group made good progress and was a block away from the hospital when they heard giant explosions coming from the edges of the village. Naruto saw that there were giant 3-headed snakes attacking the walls as scores of Sound Ninja made their way inside the village. Naruto let out a curse as he created enough clones to carry all the civilians plus Hinata and Lee. There's no point in going on foot to avoid the battles if we're going to be surrounded. Damn it! Naruto looked at the remaining genin. Let's go, we don't want to be caught out here when the enemy reaches us. Naruto received various nods as the group made it to the hospital. It was surrounded by other genin and scores of chunin that were guarding the area. The injured were swiftly taken inside as the rest of the genin were set up as reserves if anyone got past the guard. Naruto saw that the snakes were taken care of by Jiraiya, who had summoned some Gamabunta-sized toads. Hey, we need a squad to come with us to search for more survivors. The blonde turned and saw a brown-haired chunin speaking to a group of cousins who were acting as a rear guard. Several chunins went forward to form squads, and Naruto himself also decided to volunteer so he could help out where he could. They looked at the blonde before shrugging. The situation was dire and they needed all the help they could get. Good, right now the Leaf Village higher-ups are organizing a counterattack while they and the ANBU hold off the enemy. We shall pick up any civilians that may be out there and take any injured Leaf Ninja back here. They looked at Naruto for a second. This is a serious situation. While we won't be actively engaging the enemy, there is no doubt fights will happen. I'll be fine, I can handle myself. The chunin grunted as he turned to the group of 10 chunin. Let's get moving. Remember that our top priority is evacuation, but don't hesitate to help out anyone in need. The group started making their way to the wall, and Naruto saw countless and chunin come out of nowhere along with full squadrons of ANBU. They began to push the enemy beyond the wall of the village. It was half an hour later where Naruto had taken dozens of injured ninja away when he saw the barrier around the Hokage's booth fall. It was 10 minutes after the barrier fell that the enemy forces began retreating from the village. Naruto had killed 5 more enemies in the time since he left with the squad of chunin. Naruto made his way to the hospital carrying a fellow Leaf Ninja on his back. It was some dark-haired chunin who had been caught by an enemy's fire and had burns all over his body. The blonde dropped off the older ninja whose name he didn't know at the hospital and went back to continue looking. There was still a large amount of Sound Ninja who had stayed even after their Sand allies left. He quickly found another Leaf Kunoichi fighting a group of 3 Sound Ninjas. She had wild brown hair with the rectangular face tattoos that were so famous in the Inuzuka clan. Naruto watched as she took a kunai to the leg, and he quickly created 5 clones as he cut off the closest sound ninja. He was wielding a tanto, and he was about to stab the downed kunoichi. He brought out his kunai, and the steel sparked as the blades met. He held the man back as his clone picked up the women and backed away as Naruto's other clones tag-teamed their own targets. The blonde and the sound ninja broke their struggle as the older man rushed at the shorter blonde with a wide swing of his tanto. Naruto, seeing this, ducked under the swing only to be kneed in the face. It was only thanks to him listening to his instincts that he brought up his kunai to block a strike from the sound ninja. Naruto spun around, displacing his weight, making his enemy stumble forward as he slashed his knee. The sound dropped, unable to support his own weight as the blonde jammed his kunai into his neck and ripped it out. Naruto's body flickered beside another sound ninja, and as he and his clone both managed to stab him in the chest, he was taken by surprise, not expecting another blonde to show up, and his shock was visible in his eyes as he collapsed to the ground. He turned to the final sound ninja and saw his clone kill him before all of them dispelled. Naruto walked to where his first clone and the kunoichi were at. She had the same slit eyes as Kiba. She looked at the blonde with a wild smirk. Thanks for the save there. I usually have my ninja dogs fighting with me, but they got injured earlier, and I was making my way back to the hospital to see if I could help anyone there as the fighting was dying down when that group managed to ambush me. My name's Hana Inuzuka. No problem, my name's Naruto Uzumaki. I've been helping wherever I can, taking any injured I see to the hospital. The two made their way to the hospital as more and more people showed up, and medical tents were set up outside to take care of those who only had flesh wounds and to leave the inside for those who truly needed it. It was already dusk when Naruto was given orders by those who had taken command of the area for all genin to go home, and that they would all be gathered tomorrow early at the plaza to be given further orders. Naruto barely heard the man as he started walking to his home. A cold, numb feeling spread throughout his body. The news had started to spread recently, and the entire village received terrible news. The third Hokage had been killed in battle. The blonde entered his home and thanked his lucky stars it was intact. This area had been full of fighting and many buildings on the block had been damaged. There were plenty of people staying at the shelters for the next couple days as repairs were made from all over the village. Naruto made his way to his bed, and for the first time since he was a child, he truly cried. He let out the sorrow in his soul as he thought about the man he admired most, and he thought about the people he had killed, so he cried. The next days were spent mostly on autopilot for Naruto as he, along with other genin, patrolled the inside of the village as most and hunted down any sound ninja in the country. The Sand Village had been very quiet after the attack, and things were very tense between the two once allies. Naruto hadn't teamed up with anyone he knew during the patrols, and 5 days after the battle the village gathered for the third funeral. Naruto was one of the first people to show up. He had seen Konohamaru with Ebisu and he walked next to him. The young Sarutobi took one glance at the blonde before throwing himself at him as he started to bawl. Naruto patted the younger boy's head as the two grieved as more and more people started to show up. It took several hours before the funeral was over. The sky began to darken as the rain started to fall. Naruto was headed home when he was tapped on his shoulder by his team sensei Kakashi. The two stared at each other as the rain pelted the two ninjas. We'll be meeting at 7 tomorrow. How are you holding up? Naruto looked at Kakashi before shrugging. I'll live. With his quick reply, Naruto's body flickered away. He was in no mood to deal with his teammates right now. Naruto ended up wandering the village for a while as his mind wandered. All but the most necessary shops were closed for today as the village mourned. The village looked deserted as the rain kept pouring, and by now he had been walking for an hour. He was soaked to the bone. Hey, Naruto. The blonde turned around as he spotted Ino behind him under an umbrella, still dressed in black from the funeral. Hey. Ino walked closer to her fellow blonde as she brought her umbrella so it could cover both of them. What are you doing out here? You're completely drenched. Naruto shrugged his shoulders. Ino could see how down her fellow blonde looked, so she took his arm and started dragging him to his home. They walked in silence with Naruto's gaze never leaving the black sky. They made it to the whiskered blonde's apartment as the winds began to pick up and went inside quickly. Go take a shower before you get sick. Ino's tone was stern, and normally Naruto would put up more of a fight with being ordered around in his own home, but he didn't have it in him today. Naruto came back out to Ino carrying 2 cups of his instant ramen. Both blondes sat on the couch as they ate in silence. Eventually, Naruto put his empty cup down as he glanced at Ino. He took a moment before speaking. Thanks. Naruto's voice was soft and quiet. You're welcome. Ino's response was also quiet as she looked around the blonde's apartment. How are you doing? Naruto had to hold back tears as he thought about the third and all the lives he had taken. The events were still fresh in his mind, and today's funeral made everything real. I'll be fine. The platinum blonde didn't believe Naruto if her face was anything to go by. She saw how he was shuddering slightly, and his eyes clouded over as he tried his damnedest not to cry. Ino struggled internally before she brought him into a hug. Naruto stiffened for a moment before tears began to fall from his eyes. The two sat there for some time before the blondes separated. You know, the third was the only person I had growing up. When I was younger, some things happened at the orphanage I was staying at that forced me to come live by myself. Ino listened closely as the blonde spoke about the third. He would come by whenever he could to check on me. Naruto let out a small watery smile. It was a surreal experience to me at the time. Any adult I would meet would ignore me, and all the children were told by their parents to stay away. Having him there was like seeing color for the first time. I asked him why he cared about me one day when he visited. It just didn't make any sense to me, who had been ignored by all others, that this man would show such love. Do you know what his answer was? Naruto turned to look at Ino, who shook her head. He told me that it was because he was Hokage, and that the entire village was his family. I didn't really know what the Hokage was at the time, but I wanted to be one. Can you imagine it? Having an entire village as your family. It was an amazing dream. As I grew, I learned what the Hokage was and what they did. My dream never changed, but my reason did. I originally wanted to be Hokage because then I'd have a massive family, and as a 6-year-old orphan that was an amazing concept. When I got older, I wanted to be Hokage so I could protect him, so I could protect the Ikarakas who feed me on days I didn't have enough money because I mismanaged it. Naruto looked at Ino, who was staring intently at him. But I failed. He was my hero, and I wasn't there to help him when he needed it the most. Naruto clenched his fist in self-hate. You can't blame yourself for that, Naruto. From what I heard, even the A and B couldn't get through that weird purple barrier. There was nothing any of us could have done. Ino brought the blonde into another hug. He would be proud of you. I just miss him so much. Naruto's voice was soft as he said this. He looked at his fellow blonde as he spoke. Thank you, Ino. You're welcome. The two sat there quietly as the storm outside continued to rage on, and eventually the two fell asleep as the day's fatigue took its toll. The two blondes woke up the next morning with Ino resting her head on Naruto's shoulder, and the whiskered blonde resting his head on hers. Ino groaned as she saw had fallen asleep. My parents are going to kill me. Naruto got up and stretched as he made his way over to the kitchen and started making breakfast. He looked at the other blonde who sprawled herself on his couch. Do you want any eggs? Ino groaned again before responding. Scrambled, please. Naruto nodded. Do you want me to talk to your parents so you don't get in trouble? Ino just shook her head vigorously. No. I can handle it. If Daddy finds out I spent the night at a boy's house, he'll kill us both. I'll just tell him I spent the night at Sakura's. Naruto nodded again, and then after the two ate they left. It was 8:30 by then. Naruto stopped just outside his apartment and turned to Ino. Thanks again, Ino. I really needed to talk to someone last night. Ino just nodded before hugging Naruto, who returned the hug. Don't mention it. The blonde separated from the hug as Ino had a stern face on. Seriously though, don't say anything. If my dad finds out, I'll be grounded until I'm 30. Naruto nodded as the two split ways and Naruto made his way to Training Ground 7. The blonde took his time to get to the training ground, looking around, seeing how the village was almost done with the outer repairs. The village walls that had been knocked down by Orochimaru's summons were already fixed, with the bulk of the workforce fixing the housing situation. He arrived at the bridge near Training Ground 7 and saw Sasuke and Sakura just staring off into space. Weird, thought Naruto before sitting some distance away from the two. While he and his team were waiting, Sakura, who had finally noticed Naruto, sent a small wave to the blonde and he responded with a polite nod. This caught the attention of Sasuke, who scowled hard when he saw him. The two stared at each other before the Avenger scoffed and turned to look away, a dark look crossing his face. It was 10 minutes later that Naruto was pulled from his thoughts by his teammate, who had walked to stand in front of the blonde. Fight me. The blonde looked at Sasuke and saw an intense look in his eye. It was the same look he had in the Forest of Death. No. His reply was cold and lacked any emotion. Sakura looked on with concern, dancing in her eyes. Why not? Are you scared? Sasuke taunted the blonde. And why would I be scared of fighting you? The blonde's eyes had frozen over in anger, and Sasuke activated his Sharingan. Why, hello my cute little Genins. Kakashi appeared in front of his team, breaking the tension that had been building up. Sakura looked relieved, and the male members of Team 7 looked away with a huff. You're late, Kakashi, Naruto said, his patience with his team suddenly gone thanks to the confrontation with his raven-haired teammate. On my way here, a giant sea tortoise needed help finding the bathroom, and I just had to help. Sakura's sweat dropped at her sensei's excuse. Naruto rubbed the bridge of his nose, and Sasuke glared at their sensei. Enough? Are we going to do any training today? Sasuke looked expectantly at his sensei. No, all genin are to report to the mission office. You'll be assigned missions for the next week in the village while the higher-ups deal with the fallout of the Sand Sound invasion. I myself will be going on a mission later today, and won't be back for at least 3 days. Naruto saw his raven-haired teammates frown deepen. Naruto, first congratulations on winning the tournament. The blonde nodded. You're required to be at the Hokage's office in 20 minutes. Anyway, we'll resume team practice and missions a week from now. Later. Kakashi disappeared in a puff of smoke as an awkward silence fell onto the trio. Sasuke tisked and shoved his hands in his pockets before he left. Sakura looked on as Sasuke walked away and Naruto took the chance to body flicker away himself. Naruto made it to the Hokage's tower where he was let into the office. He saw the third's old advisors Koharu Udatane and Hamura Mitokado alongside Jiraiya. Genin Uzumaki, welcome, said Udatane. Naruto bowed to the elders, internally grimacing at having to be formal, but figured it was for the best. He knew the two were very old-fashioned. Hello, Elder Udatane, Elder Mitokado. You called for me. The two elders nodded back. Yes, we have tasked Jiraiya with the mission to go find his old teammate Tsunade so she can become the 5th Hokage. We were going to send a team of A and B with him, but he insisted you go with him instead. Naruto looked at the white-haired man surprised. That's right, kiddo, but before that, here, this belongs to you. Jiraiya threw a scroll at Naruto, who caught it and opened it. His eyes widened when the scroll exploded in smoke, and out of the smoke fell out a forest green flak jacket that the blonde caught with both his hands. I got promoted, was the shocked reply of the blonde. Elder Mitokado cleared her throat to bring the blonde's attention to her. That's right, we along with the Ninja Council decided to promote you for your performance in the exam and your services during the attack. We received various reports on your actions from many of our ninja that you saved. The blonde swallowed thickly as he took off his burnt orange hoodie and put on his new flak jacket. I need to add some orange to my outfit, thought Naruto as he saw his reflection. Jiraiya took the opportunity to pat the blonde on the back. Enjoy it, you deserved it. The old man would be proud. Naruto's eyes watered slightly as he blinked and nodded with determination. We'll be leaving at noon, so you have 2 hours to get your gear ready and meet me at the gate. Make sure to pack for about 2 weeks of travel. I don't expect to be gone that long, but it never hurts to be prepared. Right. I'll see you there. Naruto saluted the elders as he went to his apartment to get his supplies ready. As Naruto was walking through the shopping district, he saw a flash of orange in the corner of his eye. When he turned to look, he saw an orange sash about 3 feet long in a discount bin. Naruto quickly picked it up and paid for it at the register when he was inside. Naruto looked at himself in the mirror. I look good, Naruto thought as he saw the orange sash now tied around his waist. He was wearing his black pants and sandals. His newly acquired Chunin vest a lighter tone to his dark green shirt, along with his long black headband that replaced his old one. Naruto made it to his house and ate a quick lunch before he set off to the gate with his supplies sealed in a storage scroll he made as practice for learning the kanji necessary for the 5-element seal. He was almost to the gate when he spotted teammate doing work clearing some debris off a house that had been recently repaired. The hole in the house was fixed, but the new wood had not been painted yet. As he got closer, Kiba, who had just dumped some trash in the nearby container, looked at him, rubbed his eyes and looked at him again. Holy shit! You got promoted! Kiba's yell had brought the attention of his sensei and his teammates. Kiba! Long! Kiba apologized to his sensei as his teammate came closer to the blonde, who simply waved at all of them. Congratulations, Naruto. You are worthy of your new position. Naruto nodded slightly at Shino. Geez, always so serious, thought Naruto. Thanks, Shino, they just told me this morning. See, congratulations, and Naruto. Naruto turned to the shy Hyuga and gave her a small smile. Thanks, Hinata. I'm sorry I wasn't able to see you after everything got crazy, but how are you feeling? I am fine. Most of my injuries are healed. Naruto nodded at the slightly red-faced girl. I can't believe they promoted you before any of us. Man, the world is unfair. Naruto just ignored the Inuzuka as he wallowed in despair. Kurenai smacked her genin before turning to the newly promoted Chunin. Did they assign you a mission yet? I know that almost everyone has been asked to take more missions, as a lot of the ANBU and are being sent to the border for the next couple days to patrol the borders until the negotiations with the Sand are done. Naruto nodded. Yeah, I'm leaving now. I'm supposed to be at the main gate by noon. The raven hare nodded before teammates said their goodbyes and Naruto made it to the gate minutes before noon. Good, I'm glad you didn't pick up Kakashi's bad habit of always being late. Jiraiya was leaning against the giant gate. Let's go, if we hurry we can make it to the next town by nightfall. Naruto nodded as he followed Jiraiya as they jumped through the trees. Chapter 8. Deadly Confrontations. Naruto and Jiraiya had been traveling for an hour, jumping from tree to tree when Jiraiya stopped and jumped down to the main road and signaled Naruto to join him. Alright, it was about an hour's walking distance from Shakuba town. I promised to help you train after the exams and I plan to start that when we get to town. First I'll need to speak to some contacts of mine to pick up on Tsunade's trail and then we can begin. Naruto nodded along before something popped into his head. So, do you have a picture of what she looks like? Jiraiya grinned as he reached into his shirt and brought out a picture. Naruto took a look at the picture of a blonde woman wearing a gray shirt and green coat. I meant a picture of her currently, not of her 30 years ago. Jiraiya just grinned harder. Kid, this picture is from 6 months ago. The blonde's eyes widened as he looked at the picture, then back to Jiraiya. How the hell does she look like that when you look like? Naruto paused and gestured to all of Jiraiya. You. Jiraiya got a tick mark on his forehead. First of all, I'll have you know that the ladies think I'm roguishly handsome, and as for your question, Tsunade uses a very advanced way to make herself look younger. That's weird. Well, what are her most common hangouts then? Where will we start searching? She will most likely be at the local bars or casinos. Naruto made a face at that, but Jiraiya ignored him. Either way, there are a couple big gambling towns near Shakuba town. Once I talk to my contact, we'll head off early tomorrow morning. Man, what a weird bunch. One is a snake freak with an obsession with Sasuke and the other is a gambling drunk, thought Naruto as he looked at Jiraiya. At least Jiraiya is somewhat normal. The duo made it to the town while making their way to a hotel when a woman with a very revealing kimono came up to Jiraiya. Naruto noticed she had blonde hair and a bountiful chest. Weird, she kinda looks like Tsunade. The blonde Chunin watched as the women flirted with Jiraiya, who was beginning to drool over the woman as he let out a perverted giggle when the woman pushed his arm between her breasts. Great, he's a pervert. First Kakashi and now him. At least Jiraiya goes for real women, thought Naruto with a sigh. Hey kid, why don't you go find a hotel room for us? I'll be back later. Jiraiya waved the blonde away as he walked away deeper into the town, the blonde woman basically hanging off the white-haired. The Chunin just let out a sigh and quickly found a hotel and rented a room for the night. Might as well do something productive, the blonde thought as he sat in the bed and started meditating. It didn't take long for the blind to feel the familiar sensation of being pulled into the seal. I see you finally got over your pathetic brooding. Naruto turned around to look at the giant fox, already used to his abrasive personality from coming to talk to him on an almost daily basis during the month of training. Yeah, I lost myself in pity there for a second, but I'm back now. Naruto smiled at the fox, who simply snorted. You did adequately against the container of my brother, but don't get complacent. He was weak compared to the others. Shikaka drives all his hosts mad with insomnia, but there are others who work alongside their hosts, like the Eight Tails. If you encounter him at your current level, you would perish. I remember that his host could use all his powers perfectly, and even become the Eight Tails itself. Naruto nodded, taking the news as motivation to train harder than he had been. How did you meet the container for the Eight Tails? The great fox looked down at the blonde as he studied him. I met him when he fought my previous container. Naruto looked shocked at that. You had a previous container? Who was it? How did you get out? The Nine Tails looked angry, his chakra becoming oppressive as the blonde began to have difficulties breathing. I was released by one of those accursed Uchiha. He used that twisted eye of his to take control of me. The giant fox stood up during his rant before laying back down, his head resting on his left hand. He is the reason I was rampaging in the first place. As for your other question, ask the white-haired one you're traveling with, he will answer your questions. Naruto nodded, breathing easier as the chakra receded. I'm sorry they did that. It must be horrible to go from one prison to another because someone took control of you. There was a long silence as the fox studied the blonde. The fox suddenly looked up as a growl escaped his throat. I feel 2 strong chakra signatures with vile intentions coming to your room. Naruto looked alarmed before his eyes hardened. Thanks for the heads up. The fox didn't say anything before starting channeling chakra. You can't win against them. I'll grant you some of my chakra so you don't die and drag me with you. You need to leave and find the pervert. Thank you? You'll tell me your name someday. I can't just keep calling you Nine Tails. Naruto smiled at the fox as he awoke from his meditation. His attention was brought to the door as he heard a quiet knock. Naruto quickly went to the window and jumped away, going for the edge of town as he summoned 30 clones to spread out to look for Jiraiya. Naruto made it to a clearing at the edge of town when his eyes widened and ducked. Naruto felt the wind howl above him as it was displaced by a giant bandage-covered sword. It was thanks only to listening to his instincts that the blonde had managed to dodge what would have most likely been a debilitating blow. Naruto jumped forward, and as he turned around he saw two people standing behind him. The taller of the two was the one with the sword that had almost taken him out. He had grayish-blue skin and dark blue hair. He had what appeared to be gills on his neck. The shorter of the two had long black hair with some very distinctive red eyes with 3 commas spinning around his pupil. Shit, Itachi Uchiha. Naruto cursed as he saw the kinslayer. The two were wearing identical black cloaks with red clouds on them. Hello, Naruto. I'm going to need you to come with us. His voice was smooth and lacked any and all emotion. Naruto started sweating, trying to think of strategies to escape this dire situation. Hey Itachi, look at that. The brats are Chunin. I guess our information was wrong. Wasn't he supposed to be the loud-mouthed dead last with an orange obsession? Naruto saw the man's teeth were sharp like Zabuza's had been when he grinned at the blonde. It doesn't matter if he were a Kisame. It doesn't change our mission. Itachi replied. I guess you're right. Maybe I should cut his legs off so he doesn't run anymore. Naruto jumped back as he summoned 10 clones. 5 rushed the duo as 3 popped immediately, covering Naruto as he and his remaining clones from the Uchiha's eyes. He and his clones quickly went through hand seals. Fire style, great fireball jutsu. Naruto shouted as his clones performed a wind to enhance the blonde's fireball. Wind style, great breakthrough. The mix creating a blazing inferno that raced at the two rogues. Kisame smirked as he ran through his own hand seals, and the fire was met with a massive wall of water. The entire area was filled with steam as a result of the two elements clashing. Naruto bit his thumb and went through the required seals for his summon. Summoning jutsu. A human-sized toad appeared with a green vest and 2 swords strapped to its back. Gamashiro, I need you to help me deal with an enemy swordsman. The green toad nodded at his summoner. Of course, Naruto. I shall help with the best of my abilities. Naruto and Gamashiro jumped back as the giant club sword came down between them. Hiding in the mist? A rather poor choice, brat. I was never as good as Zabuza with silent killing, but every single one of the 7 swordsmen learned to use it. Naruto cursed as he created a clone to blow away the mist as he gathered earth chakra into his right arm, turning it black. The clone used a breakthrough and Kisame covered his face from the wind. Naruto punched with all his might only to be blocked as Kisame brought up his sword. Naruto stood still, seeing his attack didn't do anything, and then he sensed that the sword was eating his chakra, his hand returning to its normal coloring. The blonde recoiled as he felt a sharp sensation on his fist. He looked down and saw it was bleeding. Gamashiro took the opportunity to try and slash Kisame only to jump back from a fireball from Itachi. Looks like Samahata doesn't like your chakra all too much. Seems he finds it a bit heavy. There was an angry yell and everyone's attention was brought to the edge of the clearing as Sasuke ran in. Itachi. Finally, I've trained for years and spent countless hours imagining this day. I have embraced my hatred for you, and now finally I'll avenge our family. The younger Uchiha glared with his Sharingan active as he charged his Chidori. Die! Sasuke screamed as he ran at Itachi at full speed, his Chidori leaving a trail of destruction in the ground. That idiot! Naruto yelled internally as he tried to intercept the two, only to be met with a grinning Kisame who dashed in front of him as the blue-skinned man swung his sword. Not so fast, brat, that ain't our fight. Naruto crossed his arms as he channeled all the earth chakra possible into his arms, as well as unleashing the chakra the Nine Tails had given him. A shroud of bubbling red chakra formed around him as a single tail appeared behind him. He was hit by the blade and he could feel the sharp spikes dig into his arm as he was sent flying back, his chakra shroud completely gone along with the earth chakra he had used to coat his arms. Naruto skidded to a stop as he watched Itachi grab Sasuke's wrist as he held Chidori away from himself. Foolish little brother, you lack the proper hatred to match me. Only when you acquire the same eyes as I have, will you be able to properly challenge me. Itachi slammed a fist into Sasuke's gut, causing the younger Uchiha to double over as his Chidori dissipated. Itachi grabbed his brother by the collar as he lifted him up to eye level and whispered, Tsukuyami. 3 seconds later Itachi dropped the now unconscious Sasuke to the ground. Naruto cursed his teammate in his head. Now I think it's time we left. Don't make this harder than it has to be, Naruto. Naruto saw that Itachi was now standing next to Kisame and that he had a clear path to reach Sasuke. Damn it, where the hell is Jiraiya? Taught Naruto as he began to channel as much chakra as possible as he created 100 clones who each start going through different hand seals. Naruto's body flickered to Sasuke as some clones had charged the dangerous duo to distract them. Naruto saw multiple walls of earth sprang up in 3 directions, trapping the duo in a funnel as the rest of his clones started unleashing everything they had. Lightning style, electromagnetic murder; wind style, great breakthrough; water style, raging waves; fire style, great fireball jutsu; ninja arts, shuriken shadow clone jutsu. Naruto used up most of his remaining chakra as his body flickered away with Sasuke as a giant explosion overtook the clearing. He looked back to see the once green clearing was now a crater as smoke slowly dissipated. Naruto grit his teeth as he heard a whistle from directly in the middle of the smoke. Damn Itachi, the kid can pack a hell of a punch. Naruto saw that the two looked unharmed except for that they were now wet. I gotta admit, kid, had you done that against anyone else that might have worked. Naruto let out a curse as he was now out of chakra and had to drag his teammate along too. That's far enough from Akatsuki. You won't be getting Naruto. Naruto sighed in relief as Jiraiya jumped down between the two pairs. So it was you who told Kakashi the name of our organization, Itachi said as he gazed at the old. Naruto saw a green blur as Kisame raised Samehada to block a kick. Guy backflipped as he disengaged from Kisame and stood in his strong fist stance. Hello Lord Jiraiya, I have come to help you deal with these two most unyouthful fellows. Jiraiya simply nodded as he watched the Akatsuki duo, unwilling to look away from them even for a second. Kisame, let's go. It has become too difficult to capture the Ninetales with both Jiraiya of the and Might Guy here, Itachi said as he looked at the two leaves, and it was just about to get fun too. Alright, we'll see you around, brat. Naruto watched as the two missing ninjas left. He let out a sigh as he laid down, exhausted from the whole ordeal. Guy went over to Sasuke to pick him up. I will take him back with me to the leaf. He managed to find out Itachi confronted Kakashi along with Kurenai and Asuma. Someone let it slip that they were looking for young Naruto here. Said Blonde just looked on as Jiraiya made a grim face. It can't be helped, just get him back and make sure he doesn't run off on a suicide quest again. Guy nodded as he left with Sasuke on his back. Naruto and Jiraiya walked back to the inn slowly. Tomorrow I'll have you start working on a new one. For tonight, why don't you just rest up? We'll leave early tomorrow morning after I give you the basics to the... Naruto didn't say anything until they were both back in the hotel room. Jiraiya saw that the blonde was unusually quiet, and was honestly shocked by the question that came out of his mouth. Who was the container of the Ninetales before me? Jiraiya looked at the blonde as a deadly serious frown marred his face. Where did you learn about the other containers? Naruto put a hand over his stomach. The Ninetales. We were discussing how he ended up sealed in me, and he mentioned someone breaking him out of his old host. He told me to ask you about the identity of the person. Jiraiya looked surprised at the mention of communicating with the giant fox, and rubbed the bridge of his nose. I'll tell you when we get back to the village, along with some other information. I would have told you before you left, but the need to find Tsunade as soon as possible overshadowed that possibility. Naruto frowned but nodded in understanding. He was assuming that the news must be very sensitive, and not be shared in some random hotel room in some town. Alright, but I want to know about them. Naruto had noticed that Jiraiya had said containers and not containers. I will, kid, I promise. Why don't we turn in for the night? It's been an eventful day. The blonde nodded, and soon the two were out for the night. The two-toed summoners left just as the sun rose. Jiraiya had brought out a water balloon and held it in front of the blonde's face. The first step to learning this is to pop this water balloon with only your chakra. Jiraiya demonstrated as the blonde watched as the balloon started to bubble before popping. You need to do this by spinning the water inside the balloon at an immense speed. Naruto nodded as Jiraiya threw him a balloon. So what is you teaching me? The toad sage grinned as walked closer to a tree. Watch closely, I'm about to show you a technique invented by the fourth himself. Naruto saw that the older man held his hand out as chakra gathered and spun in countless directions as it formed a sphere. Rasengan! Naruto saw the Rasengan tear through the tree like paper as the tree fell. It was essentially ripped in half at the base. That's nasty, thought Naruto as he imagined it being performed on a person. That is what you are learning. There are 3 steps to learning the Rasengan, and the water balloon is the first step. You can work on that while we walk to the next town. My contacts in Shakuba town said that they spotted Tsunade heading there just 2 days ago, so we're in luck. She usually stays in a town for at least 2 weeks, and we walk 3 days walk from there. The place is called Tanzaka Town. It's well known for its casinos. Naruto nodded and the two began their journey. Naruto would pin the chakra and saw how it would become an oval shape, and he stopped spinning it. It doesn't look at all how Jiraiya did it. Naruto thought as he remembered when he saw him from the Rasengan that it was spinning in many ways. That's right. It didn't just spin one way, it was spinning in a bunch of directions. With the new revelation, Naruto tried and noticed it became significantly harder to spin the water with it trying to move in many different ways and it would barely bubble. Naruto managed to pop the balloon by nightfall on the second day of traveling. He had spent every waking moment trying to perfect the speed of the spinning water. Good job. You managed to do that remarkably fast. Jiraiya praised the blonde when he noticed he had completed the first step. Thanks, I had trouble spinning the water in multiple directions at first. Jiraiya nodded as he brought out a rubber ball. The next step is to pop the rubber ball using the same technique you learned popping the water balloon. This step is all about power where the last one was all about speed. Here you go. Naruto caught the ball Jiraiya tossed and he looked at it. Power, huh, alright. Naruto thought as he began to add more and more chakra as he began spinning it inside the balloon, and after 10 seconds it exploded, sending both Jiraiya and Naruto to their backs as they had been sitting on some log making camp. Jiraiya stood up with a look of shock as he pointed at the blonde. How? What? Naruto raised an eyebrow at the white-haired man. This step was all about power. Power means chakra, and I have that in spades. After a minute of pointing, Naruto began to develop a tick mark. If you're done gawking, what's the final step of the? Jiraiya calmed down as he brought out a balloon. You're lucky I came so prepared, though now I have about 10 rubber balls I don't need. Jiraiya lamented as he blew air into the balloon. This is the final step, said the sage as he held the balloon out. Naruto didn't see anything wrong with the balloon until he remembered that the Rasengan fit the palm of Jiraiya's hand when he used it. I have to control the chakra into a sphere so it doesn't break the balloon. Jiraiya nodded with a smile. That's right. The final step is all about control. You combine the first 2 steps, but instead of letting it run wild, you contain it in a compact form. This is what makes them so deadly. Naruto saw Jiraiya form a second Rasengan in his other hand to show that the Rasengan had to reside in the balloon without damaging it. This is going to be the toughest part of learning. So here, get started. Naruto was handed a packet of 50 blow-up balloons and he considered using shadow clones to speed up progress. No, once I run out of balloons I can't train until we reach town again. So with that, Naruto began the final step of learning the Rasengan. After an hour of trying, he was told by Jiraiya to sleep as they would be heading out early tomorrow. The two had reached Tanzaku town by noon the next day, and Naruto left the remaining balloons he had with him with clones in a clearing near the town as he and Jiraiya started their search for Tsunade. Naruto sent out 10 clones to search the casinos and bars, and after an hour of fruitless effort, they stopped at a random restaurant. Oh, you've got to be kidding me, thought an annoyed Naruto as he spotted Tsunade along with a dark-haired woman with a pig eating at one of the stalls. Out of all the places I checked, she ends up being in not some bar or casino but a family restaurant. Hey there, princess, long time no see, and it's good to see you too, Shizen. Jiraiya's remark brought the attention of the two ladies as Tsunade let out a small groan. Seems like today is full of nostalgia. First Orochimaru and now you. The two males frowned at the mention of the snake. What do you want, Jiraiya? You didn't track me down for old time's sake. Jiraiya sat in the booth directly in front of Tsunade as Naruto himself sat in front of the now identified Shizen. I'll cut to the chase then. The elders and the council want you to become the next Hokage. Naruto watched as the older blonde took a sip of her drink. So then Sensei really is dead. Naruto felt a pang of sadness at the mention of the third. Yes, he is. Well, I refuse. That hat is a death trap. Naruto glared at the women as Jiraiya continued to talk. Tsunade, we could really use you. Not only as a Hokage but as a medic. We have a lot of injuries that only you can heal. Jiraiya tried to plead to his old teammate. No, I swore I would never return to the village. So go back to the elders and tell them they can forget about me becoming Hokage. It's a fool's job anyway. Anyone who wears that hat will just throw their life away needlessly. Naruto started to leak some killing intent unknowingly as his anger started to rise. Tsunade noticed and raised a brow at the blonde. What? Got something to say, pipsqueak. Naruto took a deep breath to calm himself down. The third risked his life so that others could continue living their lives in peace, just like all the other Hokages have done. They didn't throw their lives away for nothing, they sacrificed them so others could have better futures. I don't know who the hell you think you are to belittle what they died for, but you clearly have no idea why they fought. Tsunade looked pissed. I am the granddaughter of the first Hokage, and the grandniece of the second. I lost all my loved ones to that damn hat, so don't go around thinking you know what I went through. Naruto's eyes darkened as he stared at the female. You think you're the only person that lost loved ones? I would think you would understand why they did what they did. You're just an old pathetic drunk who can't get over herself. Jiraiya put a hand on the Chunin's shoulder to sit him back down as he had stood up in his rant. Watch your mouth, brat, or I'll put you in the hospital. Tsunade glared and Naruto returned the glare with equal vigor. That surprised both Jiraiya and Shizen. Make me. Tsunade stood up and pointed to the door. Alright, tough guy, let's handle this outside. Naruto followed the woman outside as Jiraiya and Shizen got up to try and talk them out of it. Kid, are you sure about this? She's no pushover. She may be rusty, but she can still wipe the floor with you. Naruto kept walking as he didn't pay attention to his white-haired sensei. I'll be merciful. I'll only use one finger to beat you. Naruto said nothing as he nodded. Fine, I'll start then. Tsunade slammed her finger into the ground and caused a big crack to run along the road that made the earth shake. The whiskered blonde regained his balance, and he rushed the older blonde while channeling earth chakra into his fist. It turned black as the earth chakra concentrated in his arm and he swung. Tsunade raised a finger to block but let out a surprised yelp as she was sent skidding back. Naruto used the opening to summon 3 clones. One clone jumped up and brought an axe kick down on the blonde, who flicked the clone away. The other 2 rushed her as the original Naruto jumped back as he took out some shuriken and threw them. The 2 clones popped and covered Tsunade's line of sight as she heard the younger blonde shout, Ninja Arts, Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu. The Sannin quickly slammed her fist into the ground as a slab of earth rose up to block the dozens of shuriken that came at her. So much for using a single finger, huh? Tsunade turned her head as she heard the mock her as he stood off to the side. TSK, you got lucky. No, you just suck. The whiskered blonde responded as the blonde growled. Why do you even care so much? Tsunade said as she dashed at the blonde. Because I'm going to be Hokage and protect the people of the leaf. The blonde exploded in a cloud of smoke, showing he was a shadow clone. Tsunade saw a shadow above her and looked up, ready to flick Naruto away, only to freeze for a second before she jumped back, avoiding his attack. Rasengan. The Rasengan he used destabilized and caused a spiral to appear on the street. Tsunade, seeing the, turned to Jiraiya. I can't believe you taught that to this brat. You even taught him Sensei Shuriken. Jiraiya simply shook his head. No, I didn't teach him senseis. He did it himself before he died. Tsunade looked shocked. And as for teaching him the Rasengan, I did it because I believe in his dream. Both Naruto and Tsunade were stunned for different reasons. Naruto felt touched that Jiraiya believed in him, and Tsunade was reminded of the passion her loved ones had for being Hokage. But she was also reminded of the fire both her sensei and grandfather had when battling for the village. Fine, how about a bet then? Naruto looked back at the blonde woman. What bet? If you master the Rasengan by the end of the week, I'll come back with you and at least hear out the council and deal with the injured. If you can't, you can forget about me coming back. Jiraiya was about to speak, but Naruto beat him to it. Deal. The blonde nodded before grabbing her green crystal necklace. To make things more interesting, I'll throw in my grandfather's necklace and you'll throw in your wallet. Naruto just nodded again before Jiraiya stepped up. Alright, I think that's enough for one day. Go find a hotel for us, Naruto. I'll find you later. Naruto nodded reluctantly, remembering how things went last time he left with the busted blonde. Shizen, you go back too. Show the brat where the hotel is. I need to catch up with Jiraiya. Shizen nodded. Of course, Lady Tsunade. The pairs split off as Shizen went to show Naruto where the hotel was. Naruto felt the last of his clone's memories, who had been working on perfecting the Rasengan, come to him, and he smirked as he followed the raven-haired woman to their destination. Thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoy it. If you want the next part of this video, turn on that bell notification. Like, subscribe, and comment down below. And also check out the others' videos I have created and enjoyed it. See you guys next video.